But hey, how's it going? Why'd you request up? I usually I don't take randoms normally, but I'm
Yeah,
feeling frisky
um,
today.
I seem to see like a lot of people on kind of both sides of this black fatigue, white fatigue argument saying that like both races are like on either side are narcissistic, like they just all have these narcissistic tendencies. You see it from white people saying it about black people saying it about white people.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's honestly more of a difference in how people maybe socially interact typically, or I don't know what it is, but I think, you know, I don't think everybody narcissistic out here. I think it's a very small percent of the population that's like a true narcissist,
Okay, I agree with that.
realistically.
I agree with that. And there's a difference between narcissism as an individual and there's collective narcissism from a group. Have you heard about that?
Are you talking about like people under certain conditions can kind of be more narcissistic,
No.
like, or
Talking about, so you can have you can have an individual that's like narcissistic personality disorder or be a narcissist, but whenever you have a group of people who take on narcissistic tendencies as a group, it's called collective narcissism. And that means that group feels like they are superior to other groups. That group has lack of empathy for others outside of their in group. That group cares about their image um in front of other people or in front of other groups more than they actually care about the people and their well-being within that group. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about collective narcissism of white people. Not that every white person has narcissism or is narcissistic, but as a group, there is collective narcissism amongst white people. Does that make sense?
I see what you could I see you could make that case for that, but I also think you see that kind of same like conundrum or whatever in all races. People kind of get together, have those sort of like tribalistic tendencies, and they want to, they want to say like I'm a part of the best group. That's kind of what it is. It's like I am a part of the best group, but really nobody is.
I disagree. I disagree. And I feel like that is the mentality of a lot of white people is that you all feel like everyone thinks the opposite of you. And it's like, no, most groups of people think we are the same as everyone else. No, most people don't feel like we are better than other people. Now, at this point in time in history, do other like people of color in general feel like we're better than white people? There's an argument that could be made about that, but that is because of the historical awfulness that has been perpetuated from the European descended community.
But what I do see a lot of the time is, a lot of guilt for the, people call it white guilt.
Mhm.
A level of, people not wanting to take pride in their race to any extent, or not even, just kind of wanting to almost completely deny their race, not wanting to be white. So you see that a lot in people that kind of starts like appropriation. They want to hip hop to other cultures. I said hip hop. That wasn't a pun or anything.
Right. I didn't think so. But so white guilt, is that a bad thing? I is it a bad thing to feel guilty about being white? See, it's and white specifically, not like French descended or be like Greek descended. Like white is very specific. It is the racial category that is unique to America. America has exported the concept of race and whiteness to the rest of the world, but it was created specifically from the European transatlantic slave trade coming into America. We want only the people who are from Africa who are dark. Those people will be our slaves. Those people will be called black because we do not want to, um, actually have to identify each of the tribes or the ethnicities or the people or the culture. Like all of that, respect, forget all of that. We're going to group them all in one bunch, call them black, and put them here in America. We're going to dismiss our own cultural identity. We're not going to be British. We're not going to be German. We're not going to be Scandinavian. We're going to forget all of that culture as well and call ourselves white. And so, as a Black people, we've had to deal with racism, oppression, all the crap that came from that social construct creation. And then white people have benefited from all of that exploitation, all of that awfulness, all of that evil, all of that murder, hatred, all that stuff. So, what is there to be proud about being white?
Well, I don't think that just because you're not guilty of being yourself, I don't think that means that you necessarily, I think everybody should be prideful in themselves, truly. Honestly, I think, I don't think you should really found yourself on the idea of, like, race. I don't think your whole identity should be aligned with, "Oh, I'm white." I think everybody should be, to an extent, proud of themselves, especially if they've done good things. But,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
white guilt, like, carrying this guilt about yourself, I feel like it kinda escapes the whole purpose of bringing anybody together or really just, like, focusing on the idea of, history was bad, yes, but, if we sit here and focus on personalizing these, things that happen in history to ourselves, it only further separates us. It only like, recreates history in a way. I mean, you need to avoid that, and you need to sort of beat the cycle of history. You don't need to, like, go right to being, ultimately guilty. Maybe at a certain point, some guilt was deserved because those people were alive during those times, that some of those people were making those rights unavailable to those
Okay,
groups of people, but
so you have conflated two things. So you started off with people shouldn't people shouldn't put their identity in their race. People should feel good about themselves as individuals, and then people shouldn't have white guilt. I feel like those are three different things, and you kind of like lump them all together. I agree with you when it says people shouldn't feel like self hatred. I do not agree with self hatred. That is not the way to go. You should love yourself. You should love yourself as an individual, which I think you kind of said, and I agree with that. As an individual, you should be proud of if you've donated to charities, volunteered your time, whatever you've done that's added good to the human race. You as an individual, Jimmy, 100%, you should be very proud of yourself. Now, when it comes to your group, your race, the racial construct that white people created, and again, we understand it's a social construct that's only in our minds. It's not real. It's not based on any DNA. It's not based on any like real where people are from. It's just something that white people made up. When you think of that social construct that you are a part of, that you have been, the society has socially said you are a part of, as a white person, you should feel guilty about being white. You don't have to identify with whiteness. If you are like, if you hate whiteness the way you should, everyone should. It's a social construct that was created for evil. Then you can say like, I love my German heritage. I love my, XY, whatever heritage you were before America. That you should be proud of. You guys will probably have like many millions or thousands of years of goodness. But when it comes to being white and benefiting from whiteness, you shouldn't get, I wouldn't be proud of it. And I would feel guilty about being white. Not because I've done anything as an individual, but again, when you put yourself as a part of a collective, you can look at that collective and say, I am proud of this collective, or I don't like this collective, or I love this collective, or the culture. You can make like, you can package the collective and have a feeling towards it, especially and really only if you are a part of that collective, but you can't say that collective, like you can't just say it doesn't exist and you shouldn't feel any sort of way about it because you don't like what the collective did. And so now it's like, you shouldn't, like, you can't, like, does that make sense? Did,
yeah,
did
I
I
mean,
say?
I see what you're trying to say for sure, but I think that carrying this guilt with me, I think that, like, you I think you're saying almost like it's hand in hand, like being able to say that I'm not guilty of being white is almost like saying that I can't admit, wrongdoings of white people. I don't think it's hand in hand. I think there's plenty of bad things that, yeah, white people have done, especially recently. But,
Okay.
I don't think that means I should carry some level of guilt. To not be able to admit it is really like the dissonance that people have. So maybe you're like, I get what you're saying. Some people are, like, ultimately offended at this idea. That's really the people you need to be arguing with about this,
Right.
like,
And I
the
agree with that because
idea.
I'm like, if I were born white and I had no choice about how I was born and who I was born to, would I feel guilty about being white? I guess I understand it's just like I can't feel guilty about something I had no control of, do you feel guilty about what the collective has done, what your people have done, how you have benefited from the evils that have been done? I do feel like you should feel guilty about that. Like, you should feel guilty about benefiting from the suffering and pain and unaliving of others. Like, you are benefiting from it no matter what. And I feel like that's something to be like, oh, I don't feel great about that. And I'm going to use what I have benefited to try to correct the system, to try to give back, to try to do things that uproot and reverse the situation because it shouldn't be this way. Does that
Yeah,
make
I mean, the second part I completely agree with, but it's like just carrying some amount of guilt with me. I just don't because like all right, do I feel guilt because of what other people have done? I believe they should feel guilty. I think at the end of the day that's going to weigh on their conscience regardless of whatever logical justifications they try to make for things like slavery, whatever. But I
But
just don't think that
you don't
that
think
should weigh on me at all. I think if anything, uh, the fact that I've benefit from the fruits of these people's labor, whether it was forced or not, is it's all really insane. It's pretty like I mean, I honestly feel like very grateful. If anything, if I should feel anything, there's a level of gratefulness, to be honest,
you're grateful for the
just for the
suffering.
human race in general, and the
Did
fact
you
that
say did you just say you're
you
grateful for
know,
the suffering of Black people? That's what I heard, Jimmy. I just heard you say you're grateful for the suffering of Black people. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Is that not what you just said?
no, I don't, no, no. But did good things come of this? I suppose. Do I get to,
Did good things
you know,
come of the suffering of Black people? Your perspective is being very unempathetic. Empathy is putting yourself in the shoes of others. Is it good that you and white people are at a higher like social status, which is what this chart was about? At the hands at the means of suffering of Black, like that's not good, Jimmy. That's not
no,
good.
but I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think. I'm saying just in general, so much of society was built by, people, whether they were enslaved and not enslaved. I think at the end of the day, we should be to a level grateful for the energy that these people had to put forth. I mean, like, would they not feel, I mean, regardless, if you were a slave and you were made to build the White House, would you not take a level of like they built that? Why would they not take a level of pride in something like that,
Yeah, am I
regardless of
proud
if
of the blood, sweat, and tears my ancestors? Am I proud? I am proud of the fact that they endured what they had to endure and still created so many beautiful things, such as like high speed internet, the GPS. I just actually made a video on how white people think that you all invented so much that you actually didn't. You just took the creative ingenuity from Black people and then put your name on it because we weren't able to because of the laws, like in fact, like vaccinations, like so many things that were created by Black people and Black efforts we're literally stolen from white people. And you're just like, so should I be proud that my ancestors were kidnapped and forced to build this country? I'm not proud that they were
not of that,
killers. That's what you just
but
like.
that I mean, that they were like any other people. Um, I mean, very intelligent mind. Regardless, they were able to like create these amazing things. There's some amount of like level of to where you can look at that creation and you can appreciate it. And regardless if it was made from suffering or not, it's like, why should I not be grateful for this? Should we tear this down? I mean, uh, I don't know.
So
What do
Jimmy,
you want me to do?
again, you got away from the question of should you feel guilty for benefiting from the suffering of others. You should feel guilty, Jimmy. You should feel guilty for benefiting from the suffering of others. Like full stop. Period. I don't understand why that is a hard thing to say, to feel. Why is that a hard thing to feel? I feel guilty for benefiting. Like I'm using this iPhone, right? And I know that it came from cobalt slave mines from South Sudan. I feel bad. I feel guilty. I feel awful about my consumption being a part of the heart and the harms of another people's. Just because I can't see them, that doesn't matter. I know they are suffering, and this is why I haven't renewed my phone. I haven't got a new phone, and I got a 12. I don't know what phone they're on for the iPhones at this point. I've reduced my consumption because I know I can't stop it wholeheartedly, but I feel guilty that me participating in that contributes to the hurt and harms of other. Yes, does it benefit me, those hurts and harms? Yes. Do I feel guilty about it? Yes. Do I want it to stop? Yes. Will I do anything in my power to try to change it? Yes.
But aren't you
So
grateful for the benefits?
no. So, because here's the thing, Jimmy, you are thinking that you're coming from the mentality that the benefits wouldn't have happened without the suffering. You're saying the suffering needs to happen for the benefits. We had technology before enslavement happens. Technology revolutions were happening basically everywhere but Europe. And so you feel like because of this enslavement that happened, like we had technology already. Technology was already growing, and if anything, racism has been the almost the sole cause of the stagnation of the advancement of the human society. Like Like, we could have so many more things right now, but we can't have the cure for cancer because the drug companies don't want it, because it would lose them so much money. We figured out ways how to desalinate the water in the ocean. We figured out ways how to pull water out the air, but you can't have that. We could have fresh fruits and vegetables growing out of yards outside right now, but you can't have that because that messes up capitalism and racism. We could have free healthcare. We could have free tuition in schools right now, but we didn't because the white people didn't want that, and so they put paywalls in front of it so that black people couldn't access it. That racism now makes it so that no one can access school, no one can access affordable healthcare because of racism, because white people wanted the suffering of black people in order to feel superior, because capitalism wants your money despite it hurting you. So it's like these systems are in place. They're actually regressing us as a human species, so it's doing the opposite of what you think it is. So I'm not grateful for the things that it's created, because those things would have been created anyways, and it would have been created in a better and more sustainable way that didn't harm people.
So are you saying that nothing that is created by people enduring suffering, none of the benefits that are created from things like that, we should be grateful for? Like we are not allowed to be grateful for anything that humans have to endure suffering in order for us to benefit from?
That is what I'm saying. You should not be grateful for anything that
So
you
what
have.
about like military officers?
What about them?
What about people in the military who have to, endure suffering, possibly pain or unaliving in a, combat situation
Hmm.
for our benefit?
No, I don't. So again, you and other people of your groupage, you all look at each little piece and you take the pieces and then you put that as like the story. But I always look at the system behind everything, because everything has a root foundation, and if you don't look at that, you're always going to have all this like noise. So the prison, not the prison, the war system, the war industrial complex is there as a tool for white supremacy and capitalism, two evil systems that hurt and harm and suppress people for the benefit of a few. And so am I grateful that there are people from the United States who will like put their lives on the line, which is not really true. Usually it's the fact that the army recruits from poor white rural places that don't have much more opportunity for economic mobility. So they really are taking advantage of vulnerable people, and these people are usually 17, 18 years old, very young, not able to make good decisions for themselves, and so they join the army. You can ask not almost anybody, but almost anybody. A solid half of the people who go in the army, especially when they go at 18, regret it. They sure they like the benefits, but the PTSD, the crap they suffer. 1 in 2 women in the army gets assaulted in a schmexual way. It's like people go into the army thinking it's going to be one thing, and then it turns out to be something completely different. So
Yeah.
just that
But the
aside.
military has existed long before capitalism. And like these like militaristic tribalism, especially like people have had military since the beginning of time, the beginning of groups
We have
and
a vet in the
cultures.
comments right now saying they served 20 years. So what? Nobody should have to. It's like people like it's a
I don't
last
think anybody
resort to
should
go.
have to.
You
But
said
like
what?
if I don't think anybody should have to, but let's say, for
Right.
some
You have
reason
wars.
in a hypothetical scenario, if a country were to, they were threatening to invade us and we had to do something about it like quickly demilitarize them or, hurt their country to impose some power to show like we're willing to fight back if you are going to invade us and hurt any of our people. You're not going to be grateful for that at all. I mean, people had to endure suffering, but it's for your benefit, right? You didn't have to take the bomb. You didn't have, or sorry, I don't know what you didn't have to take, the the militarized weaponry that they have. You didn't have to undergo what other countries a
So
lot of the time have to go in
again, sorry,
war
Jimmy.
scenarios.
But real quick, you are again coming from the perspective of a white man. And I know, I get that's who you are, but white man perspective is someone is going to come attack me. So I need to be ready. So I need to defend. I need to attack first in order to not be hurt and harmed. Whenever the European people came to North America, the natives greeted them with open arms. Whenever they went to Haiti, whenever they met those natives, greeted them in open arms. Whenever they went to Africa, greeted them with open arms, set up trade ports, set up things. Every single time a white person has come to any nation on the planet Earth, everyone was like, oh, okay, these are, strangely colored people, but we'll approach with curiosity and see what's what. Because we as humans don't go around murdering everyone we meet that's brand new. That is very white mentality to say, I have to be on the ready for someone to hurt and harm me because no one else thinks like that but you guys. You guys are the only ones who always feel like someone's going to attack. No one was, there was, I get there was some slavery, there was some small tribal or territorial things for neighbors that were right beside each other, but no one had the mentality that I need to go unalive entire continents of people in order to make sure that I am safe. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't happen, Jimmy. That doesn't happen. So you're coming up with this hypothetical scenario of like, oh, if someone's going to come attack us, will you be happy there is someone who is willing to fight for your honor? It's just like, no one's attacking us, so I would rather us not have a military in the first place.
No, but, like, under that condition, if somebody were to that, obviously you would be grateful for, the military existing because they would protect you. If you were to maybe be in a specific area that would, was under threat,
Would
yeah,
they?
you would be very
Would
happy.
they protect
But,
black
I
people?
I'm sorry, what?
Would they attack? Would they protect a neighborhood full of black people? Because again, you're coming from this mentality of like all Americans are Americans, and that's not true. If you there was Katrina, if we want to go to New Orleans, the fully black neighborhood. I'm just like I can think of it literally like a
I mean,
thousand.
well,
Like
are you saying, like, we should demilitarize or we
for
should just
sure,
stop?
for sure, for
I
sure,
mean,
for sure.
but you understand America has grounded itself as a very disliked country, rightfully so.
Right.
We have invaded many other countries. We've taken advantage. We are terrible, like business partners, really. Yeah,
Mhm.
we're a pretty hated country by both politicians and the people of other countries.
Sure.
Um,
Fully so. As
for
we
pretty good reasons. And so we need to be like
But
ultimately
because we've been
powerful in our
bullied
military
for 400
because
years, we need to
people
be able
will
to
very
protect
much want to take advantage of us because of not only our power, but how hated we are. I mean, it's just that simple. If like this
again,
is like
coming from
baseline
the mentality of
history. I mean, if a country became like any other country, just thinking about it logically, became also like as powerful as the U.S. right now, and
aren't we
as
paying?
hated, and they started demilitarizing, it would be very bad because other countries would try to start snaking. They would take
Man,
it as a sign of weakness, and they would start strengthening their military. It would create motivation for other countries to strengthen their military even more. And in the long run, that's a game that we
right.
could easily lose.
This person in the comments, Missy Struggles, fantastic. She said, the answer for us being bullying everyone else across the country, and now we're afraid, we should bully even harder. Might makes right, and the hierarchy is toxic. Like there is a world where we could live all in peace if there wasn't one person or one entity, one group of people who always felt like they were on the defense. Like I understand that you bullied everyone in the whole wide world. I get that, but if you were to demilitarize, even first of all, even a little bit, United States spends more money on their military than the next like 5 countries combined. No one has the arms that the United States has. No one's trying to attack the United States. No one wants anything to do with the United States, if we're being honest. But the United States keeps their military war industrial complex so large so that they can bully people into playing with them on the playground because they know that nobody wants to play with them because they're a bully. Like you're saying,
Right.
oh, so we
But I
have to
don't
if
think
we
that we
don't stay
should like.
bully, no one will play with us. You're right. No one will play with America because you've been a bully for so long. But if you just stop being a bully, then maybe after a while, after some healing, after some reparations, people will want to come back together after you've proved that you're no longer a toxic, narcissistic entity who only cares about themselves. Then people will be like, oh, okay, they've changed or they're different
That's a
now.
big maybe, though. It's hard to change people's minds that quickly, too. I mean, like you
No,
have to
it
be
wouldn't be
real.
quick.
You have to be real,
You
and I
guys have
don't
terrorized the
believe
world for 500 years. It wouldn't be quick.
I
I can tell you
I
that
don't
now.
believe that this yeah, I understand, honestly. That's why I'm saying we can't demilitarize because, like, we're not gonna make other countries just like us in the snap of a finger. It's not gonna be quick.
No one's
But,
gonna do it, but it has
the, whole, like I don't believe the solution is to bully harder. No, somebody said that in the comments, and I think you,
to.
like, read that. I don't no, I
That's
don't
what you're doing though by
think
keeping the
so.
military. First of all, do you know that America has sanctioned, I think like over 1/3 of all the countries of the world, and 60% of those have just been poor people. America only bullies poor people anyway. It's like America bullies poor people, created racism to make us underclass of people called black people, and then bullied them too. Created capitalism just to take away money from everybody, and then bully people who are poor. It's just like y'all don't understand when America doesn't intervene, things are better. Like it is a neutral playing ground when America's not there. And when America shows up, that is when the problem starts. And it's because America and people in America have this mentality that everyone else is a problem. So let me get started first. Like, I just want y'all to have I just want you to change your mind from defense all the time into like just neutrality. And that is what the narcissistic mind, and that's why I said white people have collective narcissism, because the way the narcissist thinks is that there's no one doing anything just because. They're always doing it in order to get ahead of someone, get on top of someone. No one's doing anything for just genuine self-improvement. No, they're doing things in order to be able to hurt me later, to attack me later, to control me later. No, only the narcissist does things to hurt someone later, to control someone later, to get on top of someone later, to take advantage of someone, to exploit someone. Only the narcissist thinks that way. But the narcissist thinks that everyone else thinks that way too, when no one else thinks like that. No one else thinks like that. Everyone else is just like, we're human beings living a human experience and we're just vibing. We're just chilling. But then white people come along and be like, no, I have to dominate. I have to control. I have to control. And that's what it is. Like which is a narcissistic thing, is the need to control everything for fear of not being able to control the outcome. Like sometimes, like you cannot control the outcome of everything, Jimmy. Things happen. Things are going to happen. You can't. So demilitarizing, yes, that exposes, like, I want to say it exposes you to vulnerabilities, but the thing is like America is already, it already has so many vulnerabilities because it's so capitalist and doesn't care about its people, because it's so racist and doesn't care about the most vulnerable people in America. They it stops the progression as a whole of the country. We could have flying cars. We could have all EV cars. We could have all solar power. We could have housing for everyone. We could have so many things, but because capitalism, because racism holds us back, it stops us from being like an even stronger and more powerful entity. Like, you guys want strength through military, strength through weapons. We could have strength through minds, strength through by our own ingenuity, our own, like, I don't
And
want
what
to
is
call it
this whole
capital.
idea though that like other countries aren't cutthroat and also don't have like, you know, agendas that we don't know about to outright hurt America? Like, what is this whole idea that like every other country, they welcome us with open arms and they've
The
only ever tried to be
UN.
nice
The
to us?
UN. Have you sat into any UN General Assemblies at all, Jimmy?
The UN approves
Yeah, the
this?
United Nations, where all 188 recognized nations come together, sit at a table, and talk about and discuss their issues with one another. Have you listened to any of those? You
Yeah,
haven't.
how does that prove that nobody has any other agenda? Obviously, when you're at the United Nations, what conference? What would that be? I don't know. But when you're at
General
that kind
Assembly.
of place, you're not going to like reveal secret agendas that you may have
Right.
against the US.
You're not going to reveal secret agendas, but you are going to push forward agendas that will be in your interest. And do you know the agendas that all 186 countries push forward? 86, because I'm leaving out two countries, specifically the US and Israel are the two countries I'm leaving out. But everyone else, the proposals: food as a human right, water as a human right, shelter as a human right. These are the things. Children having human rights, sexual neutrality, gender
Yeah,
rights.
I'm sure all of them push that, but that doesn't like say anything about like
But
other
listen, Jimmy,
countries
I can
possibly
understand. I
being
understand
against us.
again from the narcissistic point of view. Everyone else is lying. Everyone else is hiding things. Everyone else has agendas. But even if that is true, Jimmy, what I am saying is the things that they are. Because okay, sure, everyone's going to have their own self interest. Everyone, I get everyone's. This is not an altruistic world. Everyone's just laying down in the middle of the street to make sure everyone else can live. Even though that happens a lot more than you guys would think. I understand that people have personal interests. But even if that is true, the things that they are pushing forward are still in the collective interest, the collective best interest of everyone. And those are the things the United States are shutting down. So I'm trying to show you,
I mean,
like even
the
if
United
people
States
have,
is shutting down food rights.
yes, 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 yes. Please look up the latest no votes from the United States. One of them was if food should be a human right. The United States and Israel said no, because they know that if food is a human right, then they have to ensure that they provide food to everyone. But they make more money from keeping healthy foods, keeping regular food. Like, they have a chokehold on the on the agricultural industry, and so the billionaires want to control the food output. There are less and less private small farmers as the days go on, because they create these subsidies that they force these farmers to farm certain things that even if they don't want to farm it, but because they incentivize certain things, then the government has control over how much output they can actually sell. For example, at Argentina. I'm sorry, I just have so
I mean,
many.
if the US if the US had so many evil agendas and
They
they're
do.
also, as you say, which I agree with, then why is it that these other countries wouldn't also, I mean, just logically speaking, just rationally, let's think about this. Why would other countries not also prepare themselves in these ways that we don't know about, that weaken American politics, whether it be through, uh changing people's opinions about certain politicians, or it could be through all kinds of different ways, but there's sneaky ways that people control the media from other countries, and
Yeah.
yeah, they have agendas against us.
Yeah.
These are
Well, the
not like
United States has
good
had
people
way.
that are completely in our favor. We definitely need to keep be very wary around, uh, when we approach, like, foreign entities. Like, you can't just, be like, "Oh, yeah, we accept everybody with open arms." This is why we have things like immigration laws in place. This is, like, why it's pretty obvious. I mean,
So, okay. So again, you gotta, Jimmy, y'all love to start at the end. You have to start at the beginning. We have immigration laws to protect us from immigrants. Those immigrants are coming from like third world countries. Why did the third world country become a third world country? Because United States intervention. Why are African countries poor? It is not because Africa is a resource poor country, right? It has all the gold, all the diamonds, all the cobalt, everything is in Africa. But the moment a country in Africa declares its independence and then the United States realizes they have resources, they implant puppet governments, right? So if like I think a good example is Sierra Leone right now. Okay, or the Sahel Alliance, which is Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, the three countries that were under French rule and had French military there. This is after colonialism for the last 100 years. Okay, I don't want to get my dates wrong, but so there's been neo-colonialism after colonialism stopped. So after all the United States and France and Britain said, okay, you guys, you can have your independence back here in Africa, here in Haiti, all these black and of color countries, Venezuela, like all of them. Well, Venezuela wasn't a colony, Brazil was. Anyways, all the colonies they left. And then they put them in debt. They put them in debt. Do you know about the debt that went to Haiti? They had to pay. It took 120 years to pay off the debt that the United States imposed on Haiti back when Haiti fought for their independence and they gained their freedom. Did you know about that? So how do they control? They control through debt, and then also the United States has created the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, which is a white-led, European-led bank for the international bank. And so whenever any other country needs a loan, it has to be in dollars because the United States said so. They have to go through the IMF, and the IMF will do things like put if a black country essentially is asking for a loan, they'll give them a loan at like a 10% interest rate. But if a white country like a Paris or a London or a Britain needs a loan, they'll give them a loan at a 1 or 2% interest rate. And so the interest on the back end compounds. And then if you're already not a developed country, like let's say I think Nigeria was a good example because they didn't have ways to refine their gold, so they were exporting raw gold for like 2 cents on the gold, but then they would import all of the refined gold, and so all the profits would go to the places that were extracting their raw resources.
so are you saying immigration exists because we don't,
Because America
like other
destabilizes
people?
countries. Because America
You're saying it
intentionally
exists,
destabilizes
immigration
countries.
laws exist because we don't like other colored people or people that look different and stuff like that.
Wait, what was your question? Sorry, I didn't hear it.
Immigration laws exist as a whole because we don't like people from other countries. That's the only reason.
That's not why.
I mean,
Immigration
yeah.
laws exist because they want to other people from other countries. They want to make it seem like immigration. First of all, immigration laws. They want to other people. There is an agenda in place, Jimmy. I know you're not going to want to believe that, but
Are you saying they want to alienate people from other places? That's why immigration laws exist? They want to,
uh,
like,
no, they get money from immigrants not having citizen status. Like that is like the people who lobby for immigration laws to be extremely complex. Because immigration laws could be as easy as you come into the country, you go to a building, you sign your name, you get a social security card, and then like it could be extremely easy. But it takes 10 years on purpose. Like that's not an administrative failure. That's an intentional barrier that they have created so that people who immigrate cannot become citizens unless you have a lot of money, a lot of connections, or a lot of influence. Because they want people who are in this country illegally because they can use them as scapegoats the way they've been using black people for scapegoats for a very long time. It's just like, oh, all your problems, those people over there, those
so you're
black.
saying they make immigration laws so that we have illegal immigrants in the countries that we can point the finger to? I mean,
Absolutely.
that's just
Absolutely.
ridiculous, no.
And then there are whole entire
The
industries.
entire hold
Listen,
on, the
hey
entire
Jimmy, there are
ideology.
entire industries that benefit from the cheap labor of immigrants, like the agricultural industry. And the agricultural industry is they have that. I think the agricultural industry might have the most lobbying funds out of any industry. It's probably between them or tech at this point. But there was at one point the agricultural industry had the most dollars into lobbying in our United States government over any other industry. And we had a lot of and the most illegal
You could
immigration
maybe
went to
here,
agriculture.
you need to draw this different because you could maybe say, okay, maybe politicians have this agenda where they want to create these immigration laws and keep them in power to have these illegal immigrants to point the finger to, right? Because
Yeah,
without immigration laws, you don't have illegal immigrants.
yeah,
So, but that's maybe a political agenda from politicians,
yeah.
right?
That's
you
like it's
can't
one of
you
many. That's
can't
what I'm like,
conflate that with the whole idea of why people decide to vote on these laws. The reason why people agree with these laws and decide to vote on them is because they don't want immigrants in the country. It's not because of some big
right.
conspiracy
But
that
why don't
they
they want
secretly
immigrants in
want
the country?
illegal immigrants in the
Why
country
don't white
so that they can
people
point
want
the finger.
immigrants in the country? Because they feel like it's an attack on their whiteness, their personhood, their ability to get money. That they feel like immigrants are taking their jobs, right? That idea that immigrants are taking the job, that comes from politicians. And politicians, there was a perfect example where Donald Trump had the ability to sign a law into sign a bill into law that fixed the immigration problem. I can't tell you exactly what it was, but it was something that was proven to radically reduce it. And he said, no, we're not signing it until election time so that we can so that the immigration will continue to get worse so that we can run on it as a political topic. And that's exactly what they did. And then
Sure.
what is it? Maybe they signed it later, but maybe they didn't. But politicians intentionally keep problems so that they can run on them later. That is one. And then two, the politicians get paid by big industry, by lobbyists, and they get and the industries come together. And I worked in one of them. I worked in healthcare. I worked at a policy firm where we would get the biggest hospitals together so that they can talk and come up with policies that would help literally just the biggest hospitals in the country. And you could not get a membership with my company if you were a hospital that made less than $1 billion in revenue. We would get only the biggest ones so that they could come together and then spend money on policy making, on lawmaking that would benefit just the large hospital systems. Agriculture, big ag does the exact same thing. Big pharma does the exact same thing.
Right,
All of
but
these
hold on.
industries.
We can't escape the because like you kind of go on a lot of points. Sorry.
All right,
But
no, you're right.
the whole idea that people only agree with immigration laws because their jobs being taken away from them. Most people concede and agree that the jobs that immigrants are taking are not really the jobs that the bulk of Americans are really even seeking out, right? We understand this, but there's plenty of other logical reasons as to why
Outside of
conservatives
racism,
and even Democrats
outside of
would
racism,
want, huh?
like what other reasons do you not want
Yeah,
immigrants
it would be I mean,
outside of
you
racism?
understand people are I mean, financial abuse occurs to these immigrants. They are not being paid or taxed the same as
Right?
you and I.
Correct.
You're not being paid, like, really livable wages, right? They're being paid under the table. We don't know
Right?
what they're really being paid.
Correct.
And they're also working in terrible conditions.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, like, under safe conditions like, how a unionized worker would have to be working under.
100%.
It's not the same thing at all. I mean, these people are a danger to themselves being in this country and working in these dangerous jobs. So
Again,
you could even make
so they
that
could
argument. I
become
mean, the whole
illegal.
idea that this is completely built out of hating these other groups of people is
It's not
just ridiculous.
completely built out of hating them. That is one large factor out of several. It benefits the corporations who don't have to pay the immigrant workers. So they save tons of money on basically enslaving them. And that's been recorded. They will literally have illegal immigrants come do the work, say, I'm going to pay you at the end of the season. And at the end of the season, they'll call ICE and say, these illegal people are here. You should come take them. Like, the corporations are evil and it's profit over people all the time, every time. No
Exactly.
one
And
is
what do you
doing
think creates that? The only thing that creates that is the having illegal immigrants in the country.
And why are
That's
okay? And then, but then come on, Jenny, go with me. Peel back two more layers. What are the two reasons why people are illegal? It's because their country is
okay.
not
Well, this
stable. Why is their country not stable? Because more likely than not, the United States has destabilized it for their own profit. And then two, why are people coming in illegally? Because the process is so long, so interconnected, it's extremely intensely hard to do unless you have a lot of money, connections, and status. That they come in illegally, hoping they would rather do it the legal way, but they can't because it's been intentionally made it difficult because people like Big Ag pay politicians to keep it illegal so that they can keep profiting off of slave labor. And politicians don't want to fix the problem because then they won't have a problem to run on. Two
I
things can
mean,
be true
yeah,
at once, working together.
if we legalize substances, we could call rug dealers, we could call them pharmacists. Like, yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, they wouldn't be illegal immigrants anymore per se, but would the effects of them being illegal still, you know, live
Persist?
on?
No, they
Yes.
wouldn't. They wouldn't drag down wages because they will be able to be paid over the table. They wouldn't be doing crimes because they don't do crimes now. If you've alluded to that at all, most of the crime in the United States is committed by United States citizens. So I'm just like, what do you? So what, and then if the United States would stop destabilizing other countries such as Venezuela, such as
So are you saying instead of like forcing people out of the country, we should be having like some version of ICE that forces people to become a citizen? You know,
no, we
yeah.
should make
I
the
mean, so
process
what should
of
we do here?
becoming
What's
a
the solution?
naturalized citizen easy. We should make it simple. It should be an easy thing to do.
Right, but there's gonna be
A
plenty of
criminal
people that
screening.
don't do that to abuse the system, right? Plenty of people that come in and they just disregard that. They don't
So what are you talking? No, yeah, they don't
people get inside the
most of them don't
country
disregard
illegally.
it. Most of them are paying taxes because the immigration tells you if you pay your taxes, by the time your number comes up in this immigration lottery, you'll be in good standing because you've been paying taxes, you haven't done any crimes, you've been working, we've been watching you, and we know what you're doing. And so by the time you can get your stamp saying you're a citizen, you've been contributing to the United States. If they could contribute, if they could do that from the beginning, like literally every immigrant that comes, they do everything they're supposed to do, every single thing, except come over with papers. But they can't come over with paper if they're fleeing for their lives because the United States government destabilized their government.
If you're
Like,
an immigrant, if you're an immigrant that's trying to come into the country, you're a criminal trying to import some kind of paraphernalia. Uh, do you think that they're just going to like if we just make the entire process easy, we, stop investigating any immigrants and we just like we say, "Oh, everybody
yeah.
that comes into the country, it's hallelujah." Like
I said
these
you could make it a screening. Do you have any criminal background in your country? Yes or no? Connect with the government like we have connections with all the governments that are our allies across the world. It's like the technology exists, Jimmy. The technology exists to see if someone is a criminal who's coming in without it being a hard process. We've got AI that you can ask right now a question that can tell you that saying the answer in 16 different languages. The technology exists. We just don't want to implement it because it's not beneficial to those in power. Like, some people take advantage of it. Like, if you're a criminal and you're no criminal, you wouldn't get in. Like, just because people
we
are coming
don't
over illegally, that doesn't make them.
either way, the amount of people if we were to do that, you understand how many immigrants would come into the country every year. I mean, we wouldn't be able to compensate for all of these people.
They
Like,
will be
I don't know.
working. They will be bringing labor. They will be bringing
No, they would be
skills.
using our social systems. That's what they would be
They
doing.
pay into those social systems. If they're using it, they will be paying into it.
Yeah, social systems that we have been paying into for years that probably won't even support us.
Okay.
Like, we
And if
probably
you want to make, Jimmy, if you want to make it so that if you are a immigrant, you cannot get a payout from the system until you've been contributing to it for XYZ amount of days or years or hours or whatever, we can do that. Like, again, it does like there are solutions for every single problem of immigration. They just don't want to implement it because immigration is a good thing you can run on and it's profitable for people who enjoy slave labor. Like, that is it. That's it. Full stop. It doesn't matter all the problems that it could bring. There's a solution for every single thing you can say, but they don't want to implement it. Like, that's like the same thing for the Black community. Like, it's just like all like Black people that commit crime, they're in jail, all this stuff, all this poverty, all this stuff. Like, there are systems that are in place that are forcing that to happen. They could break down those systems and put in the resources needed to fix the community, but they don't because it's profitable to be able to say Black people are this, Black people are that. Well, let's arrest all the Black people, let's enslave all the Black people behind bars. Like, it's profitable for the people in charge. The people who have been in charge since the day this country was founded are the same people who are in charge today. They just changed last names a little bit. And if you want to go really far back, Jimmy, the same people who are in charge from this country were in charge in friggin' England when England was the country. And then before that, it was like the money. And this is going
I mean,
far, but the
at a
money,
certain point, do
it
you think
just
we're not gonna, run out of space, run out of jobs, run out of, you know, compensation for just the I mean, people are gonna be coming
again.
in way too fast. There's gonna be an influx of people. It's all gonna happen at once. I mean, the amount like what you have 10 million immigrants coming under what Joe Biden in like 4 years. That's some of them. I don't know how many of those
So,
were illegal
okay,
or whatever.
another thing, the
And
population
that's
of the
that's
United
with
States is
completely
declining.
different law. That's not with just like completely letting everybody in. So
I'm not saying completely let everyone in, Jimmy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we can put together a process that makes it easy for people who are already here, who've already been paying to be naturalized citizens, and then people who want to come in, we can make that process a good jillion times easier, but we don't because it's profitable. Like, that's all I'm saying. That's it. And then we would have less people trying to come in. And again, if the United States stopped going into other countries and intervening on their own behalf. But we all know it's like he say, oh, we overtook a dictator in Venezuela. He didn't overtake a dictator. They overtook Venezuela because they wanted the oil reserves, one for American companies, for data companies, and then also because China was getting their oil from Venezuela, and China was getting their oil from the United States, and then from and from Russia. But Venezuela is becoming a bigger and bigger place where they got their oil reserves and less and less of the United States. And the United States wants other countries to be dependent on the United States so that they cannot overtake them or become a threat or whatever. But it's really so that the United States can continue to exert its control and imperialism across the entire globe. It has nothing to do with like trying to help the Venezuelan people. It's always in the United States' interest. And again, Venezuela, now they don't have a president. And when the president they did elect, because the guy Maduro, who was a dictator, he lost against a woman who everyone voted for, and everyone wants in Venezuela wants her as their president. But Trump said, actually, no, we will pick the president when we feel like it. And until then, we will run their country. That's evil. That's evil because they're only going to do things that are in the United States' best interest. And when they put in a politician, it's going to be a politician who is privy to favoritism to, and is going to be another United States puppet. The same way in Ghana, the same way in Nigeria, the same way in Sierra Leone, like in Haiti, like all these places that are destabilized is because they have an American puppet president in there who is only extracting the resources and giving them to the United States while their people suffer. And the United States does that again and again, rinse and repeat, like
I
every
mean, I
single.
understand, yeah, those things are wrong, but, like, you want free healthcare, but then you also want more immigrants to be able to come into the country much
Yes, I want
easier,
to. I don't.
and it's like,
Again, do I want more immigrants to come? Well, I listen personally. I don't have a problem with diversity. I don't have a problem with different perspectives. Like if you are in the United States and you are are worth what you say you're worth, and you will be able to beat an immigrant at whatever it is the competition. But yes, we do want free healthcare. You want to know why? Because again, as someone who worked with healthcare systems for the last 10 years, because the healthcare system is a for-profit business and it's not free and it's not government controlled and owned, the incentive structure for the healthcare industry is disgusting and is the reason why almost 50% of Americans are overweight or obese, while we have the worst health outcomes out of any developed country in the entire world, despite us spending the most money in healthcare. We spend the most money in healthcare because it's a profit-based industry and they are extracting profits at the highest rates that they can while not helping the people they're supposed to help because that is inexpensive. It's inexpensive to not help and take money. Like that's the best profit margin in slavery is if you cannot pay and get all the money, you win. That is what the healthcare system is set up to and incentivized to do. So if you made it free where these people were getting money that they need to provide healthcare, they wouldn't be incentivized to deconstruct primary care networks, which are helping to lower things that are preventable diseases, but those preventable diseases help with surgery volumes. Again, I was a healthcare consultant for 10 years. And if you want to increase surgery volumes and people have needing a heart replacement, needing bone replacement, needing hip replacement, you get rid of all of the preventative care. That is the incentive in hospitals right now. The incentive in drug care companies, you want to go there, is not to ensure that there are
no,
cures.
I honestly believe we should have free
The
healthcare.
incentive structures
I just
are
don't know how that meshes with, like, being incredibly pro-immigration. I think we should have free healthcare because I wanna help the people of this country that are already here. I don't it's not that I don't care
why,
about
Jimmy? Why are you like that? Why is it American elitism over humanity? Why is that what you want? Why do the people
because we
outside this
can't help
country?
everybody, sadly. Unfortunately,
I
we can't
understand
help.
that we can't help everyone, but we can help. Like we can help who we can help. Like that's the thing. We're not even helping who we can help. We're not helping American citizens because of again that mentality of I don't want those people over there to have free healthcare, so I won't have free healthcare. You are shooting yourself in the face to spite your nose, Jimmy. Like we could have free healthcare, but the blacks might get it, but the immigrants might get it. So instead of having free healthcare, I want no free healthcare for anyone.
No, that's well, no, I Americans, black Americans obviously would fall in that category, okay?
I
Any
understand
American
that.
would get
But
free
once you
healthcare.
start
There's
othering anyone, the creep, it just keeps going and going and going and going until we are at the place where we're at right now, where white women are being smoked in the street by ICE because we have so much afraid of immigrants that we did all this immigration stuff. And now the ICE agents they've gone crazy because we allow certain people to be othered and it just escalates from there. Like once you dehumanize one kind of person and say they don't deserve and they have less value, it only keeps going until it cannibalizes itself. Like that is
well, no, I think that's a deeper issue with just yeah, I think you can other people and not operate like ICE. Like, let's be real. Like, come on. I mean, ICE is like pretty ridiculous. They're just I don't know. I
why
don't know
would you
what's up
want
with
to
them.
other people? Like that is what I'm saying, Jimmy. Why
But
is
that doesn't mean, just because I think somebody's other, that doesn't mean I have to treat somebody like how that officer treated that lady or whatever.
Right.
Like, that's
Like that's
absurd.
what you're doing though. You once you say it's okay to, oh, these people who are in our country, they because they came here illegally, even though the legal process is literally intentionally and extremely hard, and even though the country that they're coming from is actually giving us natural resources at a steal discount over price, which is helping the American economy, which is the reason why they don't have anything where they are. So now they're here. But none of that is their fault. But because they're here and they didn't do our awful process that doesn't work, now they're illegal and they deserve no health care.
Well, no, it's just because we can't give free healthcare to everybody. If you come into the country and for some reason you are hurt, we also obviously understand a lot of immigrants coming into the country also do like physical labor work. You can't just like, that's a lot of money down the drain. I want to help Americans. I want it to be, if we're gonna give people free healthcare, I want it to be effective, like truly. I mean, we're already in a terrible debt,
Yep, we
so
are in terrible debt, and that, Jimmy, you believe a lot in the I feel like you believe in the American government as like a good people who have the interests of all the Americans in their forefront, and that is just not the case. And that's all I can say because it's like you're like don't help immigrants because it's expensive. Like it's just like healthcare is not like healthcare doesn't have to be expensive, but it's expensive because of the incentive structures that a white American government has put in place. Like we could afford to cure everyone of everything, including we could afford to cure the world. Jim, you don't understand how much wealth has been hoarded in the United States. I don't think. Do you know that it takes if you count to a billion right now? Question: if you count to a billion right now, how long would it take you to count to a billion? Do you know?
like 38 years or something, I think. I
There
don't
you
know.
go. It is 31 and a half years to count to 1 billion. What's his name? Musk has $400 billion. Do you know how long it would take to count to 400 billion? We would all be dead. We would not only would we be dead, our great grandchildren would be dead too, and we'd still be counting Elon Musk's money. It's like, and I understand, I don't know if you're like a stock person. I understand that that's a valuation and that if he sells all his stocks, his net worth will go down and he wouldn't have the same amount of money. Like, again, I study the 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control that are patriarchy, capitalism, racism, corporatism, ableism, and religion. These are my subjects. I know them all through and through, in and out. And, again, it's a broad topic, so there's some gaps, but for the most part, I know how these things work. And it's like,
Like, all right, I believe in like the idea of the American government, but I understand that it's
you
obviously,
do?
I think that it's shrouded a lot of the time by the politicians that run it. But I think that like in essence, yeah, I think generally speaking, people want to help. I don't think like
Narcissists
we're
don't.
all just
That's the thing,
terrible.
Jimmy. Narcissists don't.
I
Donald
think the
Trump,
cup
a narcissist. Do you know what a narcissist is? Maybe, I don't know if you do,
right.
but like a true narcissist, like, because, okay, white people have collective
But you know what
narcissism.
narcissists do? Typically, they control people that aren't narcissists. That's typically the people that they have the most control over.
I agree.
So it's like if you're saying that all the people that vote for these immigration laws are narcissists, that doesn't really check out because
That's not what I
if
said. I said white
okay,
people have collective narcissism, which I told you collective narcissism. It does not mean you have individual narcissism. But you just said narcissists typically control non-narcissists. So going with my theory, white people not being narcissists themselves as individuals, but they are controlled by the narcissistic white government. You all are very much like the way you're talking right now shows that you have been indoctrinated by the United States government, saying that we shouldn't have immigrants in, and you don't think about where those immigrants are coming from, why their country's messed up. You don't know the truth about that. You don't know the truth about why they are illegal in the first place, and that process could be easy. It could be a very streamlined process that kept out the bads and kept the good, that actually helped add to the economy. That actually it could all be so simple, Jimmy. But you believe that you believe in the United States government, which is saying it's too hard, it's too difficult, we can't do it. If we did it, it will cost too much money, and it wouldn't help anybody. And it's just like, do you believe we should tax billionaires? Let me ask that. What do you feel about
oh
that?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
All right. I'm just like, it feels like you're one of the people who are like, oh, they
I
earned
think
all
we
their
should
money.
tax
They shouldn't
billionaires
have.
even more than like the whatever the tax brackets are. It should be flipped around from
Okay.
lower
All right.
class to
All right. Cool.
but
All right.
it's not like I'm not like an absurd person, but like I just don't think.
You said that you benefit from the suffering of Black people and you're grateful for it, and that was a good
All
thing.
right,
You said that. You said that.
I'm grateful for anybody suffering that I benefit from.
That is. You don't feel like that's a nuts thing to say? You don't feel like that's a nuts thing to say?
All right, maybe if I was like, um, you know, I held a pew pew to your head or whatever, and I was like, "Give me $1,000,000." and, you gave me $1,000,000, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm really grateful for that, man, thanks." That's a little bit different, right? But,
You're saying as long as the suffering has a couple of degrees in between it, you're grateful?
yeah, even 1 degree of separation, yeah.
This is white America, y'all. This is white America.
Not
This is
me.
white America. This is white America. That is crazy. I'm telling you, Jimmy, that is a very distinctly white mentality. Because you guys have been on the beneficiary end of that equation for 400 to 500 years. You don't even realize what you're saying. You don't even understand the depth of disgusting of a human that is
Hold up.
that for you to say that. When you
No,
are
hold
you
up,
just said
listen,
you are.
stop. Because if I let's say, my father right, they have, like if you're a police officer and you were harmed in, like, action or unalive as a result, families are often paid back, right? Let's say my father or somebody related to me, that occurred to them, and I received a large sum of money as a result. Am I not supposed to be grateful for this at all? Like, I'm just confused, like,
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that I
wait, wait,
don't
wait, wait,
care
wait,
about that person who was lost in combat or,
wait,
I
Jimmy,
still
Jimmy,
feel I
Jimmy,
feel
wait.
grateful for the
Let me
money.
make sure I'm understanding. You're saying if your family member was unalive and you got a large settlement of money, you should be grateful for that money. That's what you said?
I mean, yeah, you should be ultimately grateful for that that system is in place and that you're able to, get that money.
Jimmy, that is hold on. Hold on. It said that I'm not it said I'm not active because I'm because I'm so okay. So this again, this is the white mentality that money is as valuable as a human life for the vast majority of the world.
That's not what I'm saying.
That is what you just I there is no amount of money
Obviously, you'd be a lot more grateful if your family member were to, be revived or something, but in the that's not nothing else can be compensated to you unless, it's through some kind of financial means or other means, I guess, but I mean, I'm not saying you should be grateful. I don't think you should be anything, but I think being grateful makes sense.
It doesn't make
I
sense.
would be grateful. I mean,
It doesn't make sense to be grateful that you got money because your family member was unalived. That is again, it's like the human that your family member was, the memories y'all shared, the things y'all plan to do together, that connection, that bond is invaluable. There is no dollar amount you can put on having a connection with someone that you love and care about. And
I'm
that
not
person
saying
being
right.
taken away, I would not be grateful for that money. That money for me would be disgusting money. It would be disease money. It would be money that is like that is the life is blood money. It's literally blood money. The
Well,
life
maybe well, if you didn't need the money, I think
was
yeah,
unalive
but
for this money. That money
if
is
that was
real.
money that you really needed for your family and for, for your family to be, you know, have resources like baseline resources. I mean, I don't know why. I understand feeling weird about taking the money and having a weird feeling about the money, but at the end of the day, I feel like the reason that we have those systems in place are because people would be, grateful if that were to occur to them, and then they were to be compensated by some financial means. People would rather that occur.
Jimmy, there are a couple of people in the chat who feel like you should be enrolled in a program. Have you ever gone to therapy?
Uh, yeah, I did one time.
Okay. You should circle back because well, I don't know, maybe because again, white people do lack empathy. You all lack empathy as like a collective. I feel like the baseline layer for empathy for humanity for other people that are not white is like it's like in the ground for white people. So I sit here and I am shocked at the things you're saying, but the fact that you're just saying them so casually, like you're grateful for suffering, you will be grateful for money that came from a dead family member, from a family member being wrongfully unalived. It's just like the stuff you're saying. You're so dismissive of the human at the end of everything, and it's just like that is how y'all have always been for the last 500 years. So it's like am I surprised? I guess I shouldn't be, but I am because it's like
So we've been like, I don't even know what you mean. Like, I'm not partaking in like slavery or any of the other like. Well, that's how I've been. That's how we've been for however long. Well, like, what am I doing?
I'm
What
saying
am
the
I saying?
mentality of human life being expendable for the sake of money or for the sake of like your
That's not what
own
I'm
benefit
saying it is.
or for the sake of your own benefit. Like even like no matter what value you want to like, okay, you can do things for your own happiness and gratitude, and then you can and then okay, sorry, you can be two kinds of people who do things for their own happiness and their own gratitude no matter who it hurts, or you can be people that do things for other people's gratitude even if it hurts yourself. And then there's a third person who lives in the middle, who is, I will do things for my own gratitude and my own pleasure and my own joy, but not at the expense of someone else. That is where every human should live, is like, if it makes me happy, I'm gonna do it as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. But white people and men in general and white people, they live on the side of, I will do anything for my own pleasure, including hurt other people, even at the expense of other people. And that is a sick and twisted mentality to have.
I didn't
Because if
say we should do. I said, if anything, I said that, and I didn't even say we should feel grateful for it, but I think being grateful for,
you did.
having anything, I think, like, who are you to tell me what I can be grateful for and what I can't be? Like, really?
I'm not saying you can or you can't. I'm just saying that mentality is dangerous. It is
But you
dangerous.
are. But you are, because if you're telling me it's dangerous, then, it's something I ought not do, right? I mean, if it's a
I mean, I
dangerous
would say
thing.
so personally, and I would say it's the reason why we live in a narcissistic world right now. Because people like yourself, Jimmy, who feel like it's okay to hurt, harm, and subjugate other people at the benefit of yourself, and as long as it benefits you, you're grateful, and whatever is at the end of that equation, not your problem, not your fault. They shouldn't have been so vulnerable. And that's how the cookie crumbles. Like that mentality, which is almost exclusively exported by the European male community specifically, is toxic as hell, and it's the reason why most of the world is suffering, because and while the United States and other European entities are thriving. That is why, because
You
no
don't
one
think
else thinks that way.
you don't think that I can be, like, grateful for everything?
No, no. Grateful. I'm like, again, it's not about, that's not, I'm not, you should be grateful for everything you have in life. But you're saying, I do not feel guilty about
Exactly.
the suffering of other people. That is what you said. You said, I do not feel guilty about their suffering, and I am grateful for the benefits that their suffering provides
I
me.
mean, yeah, why
You
would
have
I
both
feel
of those
guilty
things.
about their suffering? I didn't impose any suffering on them directly. So, obviously, I don't feel like
Janice,
being
there's those
bad.
degrees of separation. As long as you are not doing it directly, it's okay if you're participating in the system that creates the hurt and harm and suffering of those people, and that system benefits you. You're in the
Maybe if you're
system,
still
you're
living in a
participating in the
time.
system, but as long as that there's like a degree of, that's the reason why systems exist in the first place, is so that there are degrees of separation. It's not like no one wants to get their hands dirty, but everyone wants to benefit. Capitalism, all of these systems are created to extract value and give it to a small amount of people while hurting and harming and at the expense of all the others. There are systems that are literally set up to do that, and they're doing that. And you're like, because I'm in the system and I didn't create the system, or I didn't directly hurt and harm someone else, the system is fine. It's the system the system that is built to create, to hurt, harm, and extract value from at the expense of these people, for these people. That system is fine as long as I am not in direct hurting of the people who I am supporting the system that is hurting them. Like you be
I
like,
mean, if, like, a family member of mine does something wrong to somebody, should I feel guilty for it?
that's not what Jimmy. That's not what I did. You're
That's one
conflating
degree of
things that are
separation,
not the
right? That's see,
same.
that's an even closer, analogy, or
A
an analogy that
system
works
is
for
different from a
because
system is different from an individual. Like, which is what I said. I said at the beginning of this live, if you are an individual who does good things, you should be very proud of yourself. But as an individual, as a white individual, should you be proud of white people as a collective? You should not. You should not. You can separate the individual from the system.
what does
And
that
I'm saying
even
the
mean, though?
system,
White people as a collective? I'm
yes,
not even sure what that means in particular.
it means
Like,
white people. It means like the collective race of white people, white European descended people. Specifically, I like to talk about Americans because those are the worst white people. But that's like the same way y'all talk about black people, like black people as a collective, like black people, especially black Americans as a collective, we've got things that we can address and discuss amongst ourselves. But the things, most of our problems come directly from the systemic racism, the system that is created to extract value from the black community while subjugating them and keeping them oppressed. Like that is the system of racism and systemic racism and capitalism, really all of these things to contribute to the oppression of black people. But that is the system. The system keeps black people down as a collective. Does that like, what do you, like, does that make sense?
I don't see how so exactly. I mean, what do you mean?
What do you,
What laws are in place?
oh,
Like, the system per se, like, maybe people a part of the system, I don't know if, like, there's legislation in place anymore that you can really
There,
point to.
there's no legislation in place that directly says we should discriminate against black people. But that's not, again, that is not how the system works. The system works so that it can keep its hands clean. It works so that there is always plausible deniability. Like that is the point of the system, is to keep the people who are benefiting, keep their hands clean and give them plausible deniability. So like for perfect example, currently, I think it's Mississippi or Texas, no, Mississippi, I think, or Tennessee, one of the southern states is suing the electoral board so that they can okay. The Second Amendment. All right, there was the Voting Rights Act. That's what I'm talking about. It had two mandates. It said for Southern states who have historically participated in racism and racial discrimination and Jim Crow, if you change any of your voting laws, you have to fly it by the federal government first because we know your history of racism. And then two, is you can't like take race into account when you're drawing your districts, but you have to uh proportionally represent the minority population accurately when you are distributing, when you're drawing your lines. So basically you can't crack and pack, which is like you can't dilute the black vote or dilute the Hispanic vote, or you can't dilute the vote by like all the black people are here, and while they should control this district, they'll carve out of this piece and then they'll put it with all these white people, and they'll carve out this piece and they'll put it with all these white people, and they'll carve out this piece and they'll put all these white people. So you'll have three different districts with like 2% of a black vote, so that black people won't have actual any power over that small vote. So
Yeah.
the Voting Rights Act had those two things. No doing that, and anything you want to change, fly it by the federal government. The southern states said, hey, it's been a long time. We shouldn't have to ask you to change our laws anymore. And the federal government said, sure, okay, that's fine. And immediately they changed votes that said like, oh, you need your ID laws. You have to go, you can't mail in vote. You got to do this, you got to do that. Like immediately started putting in laws that never said black people can't vote, but everything that they put in the law disproportionately impacted black people so that it inhibited and hindered them from voting. And they knew that when they made that law, and that is why they made the law. So that makes sense. And so in the same thing, so they are in the courts right now trying to overturn that second part of the Voting Rights Act, saying that we should be able to draw our lines however we want to. And their case is that we don't want to have to take race into consideration because that's against our constitutional rights. But the whole reason why that law was put in place in the first place was because they were taking race into consideration and they were using it to discriminate against black people. And so the law does not say black people can't vote like it did during the Jim Crow days. Even during the Jim Crow days, it didn't say black people can't vote. But it's just like they will put laws in place that says this, that, and the third that they know will impact black people's ability to vote, and put that in place and say, look, there's no racism here. That is what
Why
systemic
do I have
racism looks like.
Okay, but why do I have to feel guilty about me being white to be against that?
You don't have to. Like I said, I didn't say you should feel guilty for being white because you didn't have control over the color of your skin when you were born, but you should feel guilty about the benefits that you get from being white, and the wrongs that that white people as a race have done. Like, because those are your people, your descendants, your ancestors, and you benefit from all of their evil, hurt, harm, and corruption. You should feel guilty about the benefits you get. You shouldn't be grateful for them. You should feel guilty about them. And you should feel guilty about the things that they've done, and not again be grateful that they did all this hurt, harm, and terror because it benefits you. Like most people, I would say 95% of the world would say I feel guilty that I have all this wealth because of the extermination of XYZ people. But white people will always say no, like it was worth it for me. Generations of poverty for these black people, generations of hurt and harm, psychological damage, generations of stifled innovation because these people have so much ingenuity, have so much intelligence, have so much good things about them, but they can't have that potential realized because of the systemic oppression that is being put on them that could help progress the world. I don't feel guilty about that because I'm happy because I got my nice house and my big bank account. That's fine. That's nuts. You
Yeah,
don't feel like
right, I
that's
mean,
nuts?
I guess if, like, I truly felt guilty about these things, though, wouldn't I just, like, throw it all away and make sure, give all my money to,
That's what that means.
donations that
you can feel guilty. And again, as I gave you an example, I have this iPhone 12 because I know that the production of iPhone 12s or iPhones in general is participating in the enslavement of Black people in South Sudan. I do not upgrade my phone unless it literally it won't turn on. And even then, I probably won't go back to getting an iPhone. Or I don't buy fast fashion because I know that's a problem in different Southeast Asian companies like child labor. So I don't participate in fast fashion. I only buy things if I literally have to. Like, it's like you can do small things to contribute to the dismantling of these evil systems, but instead, it seems like you, Jimmy, are like, oh, it's a system that is it really a system? Like, is it really my fault?
Here's the thing, once you start getting into the whole idea of guilt, like, you could easily argue, like, okay, what is true guilt? What is you being truly guilty? Like, can we consider you truly guilty of the things that happened in South Sudan or whatever, if you still do have an iPhone to some extent? I
Yeah.
guess,
You can have a little guilt. You don't even have to have a whole, like, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. I'm depressed now, but it can be like, I feel bad about this situation and I don't want to contribute to it.
um,
Is that
yeah,
so
but
hard?
I just associate, guilt, like, the end all be all of guilt is, something that results out of a decision that you made, like, an outcome or, even not an outcome, just, like, maybe a certain means to an end that hurts
Right.
somebody.
And so again,
Maybe
that
it
is
leads to the
a
good out.
white mentality. White people have either or thinking, black or white thinking, yes or no thinking, binary thinking. You all have very binary thinking. There's never any nuance with you all. There's never any gray area. There's never any in between. And in reality, I don't know if you've studied statistics or probability. If everything works on a parabola, on a bell curve, and that the ends of the bell curve are the minority of the situation, and usually everything, it sits in the middle. On average, everything is in the middle, and then the extremes are on the ends. But white people, they live in the extremes. They just live in the extremes. Like, it's either I'm guilty or I'm not. It's not, you can't be a little guilty or a medium amount of guilty or a lot of guilt. It's either it's my fault or it's not. It's either this or it's that. And it's like, no, there's an entire system in the middle that you are either contributing to or you're not. Or you can be contributing a lot or you can be contributing a little. Like, am I as at fault for the state of the United States as like a billionaire? Absolutely not. Do I have the power to change anything the way a politician does? Absolutely not. But am I upset about the state of the country? Am I upset that America is imperializing other countries? Am I upset that America is causing poverty and chaos and ruckus to the rest of the world? I am. So what will I do? Everything in my power that I can with the knowledge that I have at this moment to stop it. It may not be a lot, but it's something. It's a little bit. And if all of us, there are only 3,000 billionaires in this country and there are 300 million of us. So if all three, 200 and to 270 anyways, if all of us that are not billionaires come together and do our teeny tiny little parts, as a collective, we would mow them over. Have you seen the ant movie, A Bug's Life? Like, don't be
Right, but
afraid of these little ants. You
guilt
know
to
what?
me really only comes out of just like pure intent. Like, it only the only way I can truly feel some guilt for something like that is if it's something that I've done personally. Otherwise, I can look at things and obviously say they're like abhorrent and wrong, or like, I disagree with that, depending on the severity of the
Intention
thing.
does
But
not have anything to do with it. And that's always like again, that's the opposite of what everyone else knows. It doesn't matter your intention. Your justice system, right? If you unalive somebody and they are murdered, it doesn't matter if it was an accident, you're getting manslaughter. Technically, is that different from first degree? Sure. There's some intention there, but at the end of the day, the outcome is you hurt and unalived and murdered somebody, so you're going to jail. So it's like, again, there's degrees of intent, but there's always but the outcome is the same. If the outcome is this, it doesn't matter what your intention was. You need to do something to change the outcome. Even if you didn't intend
I
to run that person
I
over,
disagree.
now
I
you won't
think
text and drive. That wasn't your intention to run them over.
well, there's obviously there's, levels, like, if you're,
Well, there are levels, you
if
guys.
you're on your phone and you're driving, maybe you're not intending, but, like, you were obviously being way too selfish, you were not caring about other people, obviously that wasn't your direct intent. So I get what you're saying to a level, but we're saying, like, people that you know, like, there's 0, justification you can even make to point to, like, this truly being their fault. People where, the conditions are, like, I didn't set the conditions of America. That none of this is under my intent. None of it was created under my intent. So it's, like, just hard to
And it's like, it's one thing, it's like once you know better, you do better. Like this, as a child, you're going to do things wrong because you don't know. But as you grow and you mature and you understand how things work, you do things differently based on what you now know. So it's like, yeah, sure, it would be different if I bought cell phones not knowing that the impact was slavery in South Sudan. Okay, I didn't know. That wasn't my intention. Can you fault me? No. But now once I have the knowledge, should I do better? Yes. And if I don't do better, should I feel a little bit of guilt for choosing myself and my superficial needs over the life
Right.
and quality of life of someone else in this system?
But that was
Yes.
based on an action, which the action was you buying the phone, the iPhone, right?
Right.
But you can't correlate any kind of action to this exact, like, oh, the situation of me being white. I mean, I didn't choose to be white. There was no action
Again,
behind
it's
it.
not
Like,
about
there's
your
nothing that I
skin
can do
color being
to.
white. It's about the benefits that you receive as a white person. So if you go into a corporate setting or a corporate room and they're all talking about something that could potentially hurt, like, okay, the way that environmental racism works, right, is they need a data center. They know the data center is going to pollute a lot of air, but they need a place that has working electricity and water already because they don't want to have to do the infrastructure themselves from scratch because that would cost too much money and take much more time. So we got to put this big industrial data center somewhere. Where are we going to put it? We're going to put it in the place with the black people because they don't have money to sue us. They don't have the economic or political power to push back, and white people don't care about them, so they're not going to do anything to help them anyways. So, but you as a white person in that room could say, hey, no, you guys, maybe we should really plan for a long-term solution away from the black community or any other community because we know the harmful effects of this data center on the environment. So you as a white person who will be in these spaces that black people will not be in, these decisions are made on behalf of us, not with us. You can use that privilege of being in those rooms and being believed and being looked at to use your voice to say this is wrong because you now have the knowledge that this is wrong.
Yeah, but
Instead of
notice how
saying,
that's not rooted in guilt. Like, that's just rooted in the understanding that, the idea that that would be wrong to, like, exclude or to, hurt a certain group of people just because, oh yeah, whatever, they're black or they're white. Like, we understand, like, that that would be. I'm just so like.
Shan said, so call it understanding then. I'm just like, you're really pushing back on this
I just
feeling
don't think that it's
guilty.
rooted in guilt. I don't think that you need guilt whatsoever. If anything, if you're making decisions that are against the status quo, that go against the grain that you feel are right, then you should not feel guilt. I mean, you should. Why would you feel guilty about that?
So Shan made a very good point in the comments, and I made a whole video about this too. Is that you are hung up on semantics, and that is something that white people and narcissists specifically do. Is they will weaponize the word.
Wait, so now you're saying I'm a
No, 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 no,
narcissist.
no. I didn't say you're a narcissist. I said that's something that white people and narcissists do. I didn't say white people are narcissists and they do this. Some white people are narcissists and they do that. Anyways, but I said these two separate groups who may or may not have overlap, but they both do this, which is weaponize semantics. You'll take a word and you'll dismiss the entire point because you're hung up on the meaning of a specific word. The point is you should not feel good about others being good in any way that's grateful, that's happy, joy in you should not feel good about the hurt and harm and subjugation of a certain people because it benefits you. You should not feel good about that benefit. And yes, I did say, and I feel like you should feel guilty. And I guess guilty. You should feel bad. Okay, if you don't want to use guilt, you should feel bad. You should feel bad, and if it takes you agreeing that you'll feel bad to be able to participate in changing the system, or not at least not contributing to the system, then I'll take that. If you don't want to say I feel guilty because you feel like that means that puts you at fault, and that's another thing that again white people and narcissists
Yeah,
do.
yeah, I feel bad. I'll feel bad for. Yeah, I feel bad for all
Feel
kinds
bad,
of
but
people.
yeah, they don't want to say guilty because then that feels like they have accountability. And narcissists, not you, Jimmy, but narcissists, they will do anything in their God-given power to avoid accountability. Like that is the one thing a narcissist will
That's
never.
what you're hinting at. You can't say that, and then especially you said, "Oh, that's something that narcissists do." And if I'm doing something that a narcissist does, then I must, to some extent, be a narcissist, right?
I think you are, if I'm being honest, but
Yeah. So just say it loud and proud. I mean,
I didn't.
there's
I'm not.
no.
I can't diagnose you with anything. But I can say. Can I say you're narcissistic? Yes, you have narcissistic points of views for sure. For sure. first. You, and the narcissistic point of view is me, my well-being is more important than than anyone else's, or my well-being comes before anyone else's. It is not equal to, it is above anyone else's. And by you saying that it is, you are happy with the suffering of others because it benefits you, or not happy, you're like, you don't care about the suffering of others and how that suffering benefited you, but you are grateful for the benefits. That is a narcissistic point of view. Like, that is not, I think about the collective of humanity before I think of myself. A narcissist, I think of myself before I think of the collective of humanity. Like, literally, that is the difference between the two.
Yeah, but
And
you're like conflating like feeling like why like feeling bad, why is that the same as like feeling guilty to you?
you said, why is feeling bad the same as feeling guilty?
Yeah, why is sympathy the same to you as like guilt?
No, it's not. It's not. But so it's like sympathy is, you can have sympathy for someone and not feel guilty, and I get that. You can have sympathy and feel guilty, and the guilt is, again, it is that accountability factor, and you don't want to take individual accountability, but you should take group accountability. Like that, like that's what I've been telling you this whole thing. An individual narcissism is not the same as collective narcissism, and you're saying as a white people as a collective, like, okay, here, I'll go first. Let me take some accountability for the Black community. It's hard because mostly all of our problems come from white people, I will say, but Black people could do better at, hmm, okay, Black women could do better at educating our daughters to not get with terrible ain't shit men who get them pregnant and then leave. I think that's a thing that Black women can do. We can do better at teaching our young women how to identify a bad man, and then making sure they don't get pregnant by them, so that we could reduce the the single mother rate in the Black community. There, I said there is. I don't feel. Do I? Again, yeah, you're right. Do I feel guilty about Black women having a higher single mom rate? Guilty. Guilty. Right. It's not my fault. It's not, but it's like, it's not
Exactly,
Black people's
exactly.
fault. But it's not Black people's fault. Like, that's my problem. I'm trying to figure out something that is Black people's fault. Like at the root. Okay. No, I just did no. If you can give me something that is like when I say the root, I like to go to the root cause. The root cause is Black people's fault. Give me something, I will say I feel guilty about it. But it's just like there's nothing. Uh, there's really nothing I can think of that is like the root cause is Black people.
All right. Some of the stuff that happened with the BLM riots, right?
Okay.
There's clearly some bad things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people that I mean, really all races participated, but a lot of them were Black people, a high majority.
Yeah.
How do
And
you
the
feel
Black
about it?
Lives
You feel
Matters
like
protest. Sure.
you feel like you should feel guilty about that? I don't think so. I
I
think that
feel
would be absurd.
guilty about what, like the riots and burning down stores and stuff. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying? Yeah, no, I don't. But that's not, that's because do I feel like it was again, when I go back to systemic racism, we've been racism against for 400 years, and we've been murdered and we've been unalived unjustly for 400 years. And it's like the anger in our
So you don't
community
even
is
think those
built
people
up.
should feel guilty then?
You said what?
Do you think those people that did it should feel guilty?
Do they feel guilty? Yeah, I think they should. I think they should.
Okay,
I think
well,
they
if we're counting 1 degree of separation away as like, oh, you're in the same race, you're in the same race bracket, so you're 1
okay,
degree of separation,
they should
you should
feel
feel guilty, right?
guilty for their direct actions in destroying people's property, but I also understand why they destroyed the people's property. So for white people, you can say, I feel guilty for the subjugation of Black people and people of color across the globe by white people, but you can say you understand why
Alright,
they
but
did
that's
it.
like hold up, that's literally like if I said, "Alright, I understand, like, slavery was wrong and all the slave masters, they shouldn't have done that, but, I understand why they would have thought, Black people were not, the same as us and then built some weird justification to enslave them,"
Do you
you
understand
know?
that though? Is that, but like, because it's different. I understand why Black people were enraged enough to destroy property. I genuinely understand that with all of my heart. Do you genuinely, with all of your heart, understand why your ancestors enslaved
I
Black
mean,
people?
if I was an uneducated idiot back in those times, I think, yeah, you could probably convince me of anything. I'm not gonna be one of those dudes that are like, "Oh, I would have never been a slave master," or "I would have never" I mean, who knows what the fuck I would have been. So, yeah, probably.
Wow. So there were white people during the enslavement times that were against slavery and felt like it was dehumanizing and weird and crazy. So they existed. Um,
Yeah, they weren't
So
the, majority. It wasn't the status quo at the time. You would have been going very
you got to
against
be
the
an
grain.
independent and critical thinker, which again, that's not something the white community is known for. So I get,
I mean, I'm not gonna count on, in this very hypothetical, like situation, me being a extremely critical thinker. If the majority of people back then agreed with slavery, then I probably would have fallen somewhere, statistically speaking, somewhere in that majority. So
sure would have. You sure would. I have no doubt about it, Jimmy. You would have been a slave master, and you would have been like, "This is okay. It benefits me," and the system says it's
I would have been the
fine.
coolest slave man. All right, I'm not gonna go that far.
Yeah, yeah. No. I don't know. Yeah, no. I just all right. I don't know if I have anything else for you. So, do you feel like to wrap this up? You don't feel like you feel guilty about what white people have done to black people? That's like first question. No guilt.
No, I don't feel guilty
Okay.
personally. I don't feel personal guilt. No.
I'm not asking you to feel personal guilt. I'm asking you to feel collective white people guilt.
What is
Well,
collective guilt?
collective, like collective.
Like you want me to invite my family get a family get together and like let's all feel guilty. Come on, guys.
That's not what
Let's
I'm
all cry
saying.
around
That's
the
not what I'm
table about how much we
saying.
suck.
Can someone in the chat help me? Is there anyone in the chat who can help explain what I'm trying to say when I say collective narcissism or like, you think he's being ignorant on purpose? Are you being ignorant on purpose, Jimmy? Like, because
Oh, I
I
swear to
feel like I've
God.
described individual actions and then collective
I
actions.
don't even know what collective narcissism is. I think that's just a term you've made up,
I
to be
didn't.
honest.
You can look at wow. So wow, you think I
What
just
is the like phenomenon? Like
okay,
what
here.
happens?
I just okay. Here, I have my computer here. Let's see. Let me just get a definition for you because I don't want you to feel like I'm just getting on this internet just making stuff up because that's not who I am or what. You've never been on my page and it really shows. But you should follow. You should look through my understanding racism. I have a playlist called Understanding Racism, and it talks about the collective narcissism of white people. Okay, collective narcissism is the tendency of a group to hold an inflated view of its own importance and superiority, often requiring external validation to maintain this self-image. So, okay, another one, also known as group narcissism, refers to a psychological phenomenon where members of a social group exaggerate their group's positive image and importance. This concept extends the individual trait of narcissism to groups, suggesting that groups can function as narcissistic entities.
Right,
That is
but
like,
narcissism is like you're saying that it's associated with an entire group,
yeah,
but like
collective.
that's just
So
yeah,
it's
but
like, well,
only people that are narcissists would fall into those kinds of group behaviors.
no, that is not
Like
true. That is not true. I was just, oh man, what is this?
how can you uh be a narcissist or a part of a narcissistic group but not be a narcissist? I mean, like,
Because you like it's like you know what a cult is?
yeah,
Okay.
but
So
that's like the idea of the group, right?
it's
It's different. The idea of whiteness, at least in modern times, it's just like somebody with a white phenotype. It's not. I mean, you could break down whiteness and also being like,
white we know it's a social construct. It's made up, it changes, it shifts all the time based on who is beneficial for at the time. Sometimes Irish people are white, sometimes Italians are white, sometimes they're not. I get whiteness is a made up social construct. But if you but it's made up in our minds, but the our minds create the world that we live in. And so because white people have created actual tangible systems like racial hierarchies that created on paper back in the day, and then has the culture of it has still kept along with us till today, 2026. There is still this innate belief in most white people that white people are better than other racial groups because because they think the state of the world is like a happenstance and not a direct result of whiteness and white imperialism. So like they think, oh, black people in Africa are poor because they don't know how to run their country. They don't know how to use their resources properly. They're not as smart as us white people. That's why we have the number one country in the world. They don't think about the fact that white people and the white American government has destabilized and decentralized the governments of all of those countries that are poor. You see what I'm saying? So
all races have these tribalistic tendencies. Literally, there's not one race that
mm,
goes, uh, you know, black excellence, for example. No, I'm not even saying it's wrong to say such a term, but, like,
Hmm.
we all that's rooted in a tribalistic tendency to uplift people that are part of your group or maybe that look similar. These tendencies exist among every group. You can't just single out one group and say that, "Oh,
Projection
just this group has only ever thought
the
they're superior."
narcissistic tendency, the projection of a narcissistic tendency of like, this is what we do, so everyone else does it, or this harm that we do, so everyone else does it. Black excellence you can identify it as two things. Either one, a direct opposition to racism, saying that Black people are less than, are less valuable, are less smart, are lazy, are dirty, or whatever what Black people have been perpetuating about Black people for hundreds of years. So it's a direct like pushback against that. It's like, no, we are excellent. Or it could be, oh, we are excellent independent of anyone else. By our own metrics, from measuring ourselves from back then to ourselves now, we are excellent. You can measure yourself against yourself. It is not saying we are excellent and better than Hispanic people, Asian people, but white people or anything like that. It's not saying that we are better than another group. It's saying that we're great. That's it. You can have high self-esteem. That doesn't mean I am better than other people. I have high self-esteem because I think I'm great. I think my life experience, my intelligence, my empathy, my way of talking to people, like you can have characteristics about yourself that you love, adore, and appreciate and value, and not mean that you feel like you're better than someone else. It's just like it can be just independent. It's just like we
Alright,
have
but if it wasn't centralized to Black people overall being, possibly better than another race, then why not just say excellence? Why do we centralize it to this specific race and this group of people? Why even mention Black at all? I mean,
because that's the first reason I gave you. It's a direct pushback against the narrative that Black people are not great, are not excellent, are in fact poor, stupid, dumb, lazy, incapable, like needs DEI to get a job. Like all of those stereotypes that have been pushed about Black people for hundreds of years. If there was no pushback, it would just be that people believe that, and people still
yeah,
believe
right,
that
I
to
don't think
this day.
it's a term that people shouldn't be able to say. I think, it is what it is,
I
but,
know you're saying it's an
um
example of Black people like using tribalism to like to say that we're better than other people, and that's something that all groups do. No, all groups have pride in themselves the same way that all humans should have high self-esteem, but that doesn't directly mean that high self-esteem or that pride in self is condemning another group of people or saying another group of people isn't as good. Like if I say we're amazing and the Asian people say that they're amazing, I'm like, hey, we're both amazing. Hey, we're both lit. Oh my God, we're both great. But white people see Black people saying Black excellence and Black amazingness, and they take that as an attack, saying that white people are not great, are not excellent. And it's like, we can both be great. We can both be excellent. It is not only one or another, that binary thinking, yes or no, this or that. It is both. It is both and y'all don't understand that.
right, exactly, so, why then should there be collective white guilt?
And so
Why
the
can't there be
collective
collective white
narcissism of
excellence?
white people comes because you all do not know how to stand in your own pride, your own sovereignty, your own collective amazingness, and just stand in that and be proud of what you have done. You have to stand in that and then subjugate other people and then oppress other people and then create systems that ensure white people stay on top while other people suffer and be happy with the benefits that you get from the suffering of other people. That is where the narcissism comes. That is where the guilt should feel. Nobody else does that. Nobody else has done that. Nobody else subjugated entire continents but white people, and then created, no one else has created an entire race of people. No one else disregards the ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, or identities of other groups of people. With just you guys. So that is where the guilt comes, is because you as a one collective entity are perpetuating harm on the entire globe. Y'all are
Right, but here's the thing,
14%.
hating the idea of categorizing people by this social construct and then turning around and saying that, "Oh, I should identify with this social construct and feel guilty about it because I fit
I
into
didn't say
it,"
you have to
is just
identify as it.
it's
I
just
told you at the
backwards. It
beginning.
doesn't it's just the logic is backwards there because if anything, why if I think that this is such an incredibly stupid concept that it's just purely social and like which I do, then why should I even like subscribe to it and then feel any guilt because of my like subscription to being white? Oh yeah, I'm white, now I'm gonna feel guilty about it. This is just that's narcissism. You know what? No, that's narcissism. Feeling guilty, wallowing in your whiteness. Oh, I'm so guilty. That is what narcissism is, in my opinion.
Minerva, are you raising your hand for real? All right, I'm a. She said she raised her hand, and I feel like maybe I need some help. Minerva, do you have
Hi guys. How are you doing?
Yo,
good?
what's
Nice
up?
to see you.
Hi, Jimmy. I like that your wheels are at least turning, which white people are good at. We had to be really strategic to get resources, which is why we also kind of became a plague to other societies. So it's a double-edged sword. But anyways, that goes back to really old anthropological stuff, and we're not gonna go too far into that. I just wanted to ask you if you understood the concept of a blind spot in psychology. Do you know what a blind spot is?
Like something you're not aware of?
Oh, he gets it.
Okay.
Okay. So everybody has blind spots, all right? But collectively, white tea people, which I am one of, part of that group, we have collective blind spots. And I think what's being required of you is to just pause for a moment and ask yourself, is it possible that we collectively share? Like, I'm also in school for my doctorate. So let's make this really strategic, really numerical, really black and white, really linear, okay? Because you're also a man. If I was going to study like how many people share a certain belief and then take those statistics, what do you think the scientific finding would be on groups of white tea people versus other races? Do you think that there would be any common denominators, any through lines, anything that we all shared as a concept that maybe other cultures don't, that we were potentially unaware of? Do you think that's possible?
All like an absolute?
I'm saying, okay, say you interview. This is called qualitative research. Okay, you're going to do a qualitative study on all white tea people in America. We'll say in America specifically. And the interview questions were structured in such a way as to uncover unconscious beliefs. And then you could use, right, like statistical analysis to pull words that were common, much like the algorithm in a computer does, and say, okay, we see here that almost every single responder and every single interviewee had the same concept about race that they were unaware of because of how we've structured this interview question. Do you think that that's possible? And do you think that there are studies that actually already show that this is true?
Are you saying that maybe you can ask someone in a question that like it's worded in a way where you're almost bound to get a certain response?
No.
No. Okay. Can I? I'm gonna intervene. Okay. I'm gonna try to rephrase her question. First of all, she said she did a study across all white people, and your first question, your first answer was, will all white people say the same thing? She said she did a study, so you're going to be looking for averages, you're going to be looking for trends, you're going to be looking for probabilities, statistics. That's not absolutism. It's not going to be all white people said it or no white people said it, right? It's going to be some. And then she said if you look at all white people and the other races, if there was a large average of a large average that white people had in common, that average was higher than all the other races, all the other averages down here, would there be any averages that are higher in white people? And then she said something else. Minerva, let me know what the actual topic was. But when she was talking about blind spots, she was like,
Okay, so like just typical things like trends that we would see in the white race.
right, from a psychological study, would there be trends in the white race that you would not see in other races?
Um, I don't really know. I think we all pretty much
Okay,
think
so
the
that's
same.
we've identified one of your personal cultural blind spots.
Oh, hold on.
It's okay. I understand you've got sirens in the background.
I'm in the city. Um, no, I'm not gonna I don't think that we all are the
Here,
same
you don't have to take my word for it. And you
in
know
any way.
what?
I just don't think
It's
that we're all the same in any way. I mean,
no, that's not what I'm saying.
We're
It's
going. You're
not
going back to
mutually.
either or binary thinking. No, 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 no.
Yeah,
Stay in the middle, Jimmy. Stay in. We're not talking about the extremes. We're all or we're none. We're in the
okay,
middle.
trends in thinking.
I'm looking at
Oh,
data
blonde hair,
points.
blue eye, maybe
That's
blonde
it.
hair, blue eye women being
Data
attractive. That's
data
one thing.
points. Okay, first of all, it's not really the host's responsibility to educate you, but she
Trends in
is.
thinking. I
It's
just
called
brought one up.
charity. She's doing a service to you right now that no one is paying her for. Okay. So, what you could do as a act of gratitude is to consider the concept that I just brought to your attention and do your own research. You can look on
Right.
NIH,
So
you can look on the the National Health Sciences libraries. You can look on so many different Google Scholar.
did you just come up here to like ask me a question and then like what's the point of this? I mean, is this a discussion or are you just gonna be like, well, just educate yourself on my biased information? Like I
No,
don't.
I'm saying look at unbiased peer-reviewed research, Jimmy.
No one's asking you to look at bias.
Right. All
That
right.
would be
Like a trend in thinking, if you seriously want my answer, like one that I can think of just off the top of my head is maybe that like amongst white people is that blonde hair, blue eye women are like the peak conventional attractiveness.
I do think that would be a trend. Good job. That
So
is a trend.
So find more studies on more of your blind spots because we all have them. Our brains aren't sitting here calculating every single possible combination of possibilities in the universe at all times. That's physically impossible. But what we do have is statistical analysis and peer reviewed research to help guide our thinking and discover our own blind spots. People even compile these blind spots into books like White Fragility and other such works. So, yes, I'm saying if you can't bring yourself to feel emotion, why don't you start digesting information that would help you expand your vision of reality as a whole and maybe start feeling a little bit? Because I think that's literally the only thing the host is asking of you.
And it's a little empathy.
Um,
A little empathy.
I just think I find this stuff interesting. I don't think it's I'm not gonna get like an emotional response from any of this stuff, to be honest. Like whatever kind of information.
Then what is your purpose? Let me ask you a similar question. What is your purpose of coming up here then? If you're not open to having your perceptions challenged, what's the point of being interested in something if you don't want to be wrong?
I mean, I feel like it's hard to have my perceptions challenged if I were to come up here all emotionally charged.
Okay, hold on, wait,
Like
both of you, wait, hold on. Jimmy, she was saying she wants you to have emotions when it comes to the suffering of other people. Not saying you should be emotional right now. And I don't want you emotional. I don't want to be emotional. That would be a counterproductive conversation. So she's asking you to have empathy for the people at the other end. And then Minerva, I do think he is open. I think he came up here with the thinking that he was open to changing his mind, but also thinking that he figured he would be right, so he wouldn't have to change his mind. And so I don't want to say he came up here not being open. I think that he thinks he was open, but again, I think he thinks he was right. So that's I feel like, and he's not. And most white people, again, sorry, they don't like to contend with the fact that they are wrong, especially when it comes to historical causation of the suffering of people and their participation in it. Because again, that means you have to take some accountability, and they never want to do that. I get it, you know?
well, no, I never even really denied that at all. In fact, my whole argument has really been built on the idea of, regardless of the suffering that maybe my people imposed on other people, I shouldn't have to feel directly guilty for that whatsoever,
Thank you for at least
or even
taking
collectively
ownership.
guilty or whatever. I don't even know what a collective guilt would be. I don't know how you would show that, or, I think you would
Protests. I've
just,
gone to protests. That's one good way that
that's
protest
you being
violence.
guilty though. I feel like that's you standing up for a cause. That's not out
But
of,
the
if that,
emotion
unless it's out
behind the
of guilt.
behavior, Jimmy, there was an
I mean,
emotion behind the
need
behavior, a
do you
collective
need
emotion.
I get
do you
it. He's
need
saying he
guilt
doesn't
to know
feel
that
it.
it's
Yeah,
wrong?
he's saying it doesn't have to be guilt. And that's like, it's a hard question. I'll give him that, because when you're standing up for something that you are like, it's not either or, it's both. And you can feel bad, feel like it's wrong, and feel guilty. And you can also not feel like it's guilty. The outcome, well, I feel like it should be the same, but the thing is, like, will it happen again? Like, when you don't have empathy for the things that are happening in the moment, for the person who is suffering, it is more likely to happen again. Like, Jimmy, if you never feel bad about the benefits that you're getting from being white, you are more likely to let the system perpetuate itself so that you and your children and your descendants continue to benefit from the system because you don't feel bad about the benefits. And that's the problem with all these hierarchies, and the reason why they work is because the people at the top who have the most power, who have the ability to make change, they are benefiting from the system, so they don't want to make change. You're like, that's a perfect example of what these systems are talking about. And I know you guys can't see it because this thing
I
is
mean,
like small, but if you, so 1 second, Jimmy. This is my 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control. If you want to learn more, you can go to my page and click on the first playlist called Narcissistic Hierarchies, where I go through all of these in more in depth, and you'll actually be able to see them there. So I just want to say that, but it's just like these hierarchies work because the people who are at the top of them, who control them, and then they like enlist helpers and that is that second row of people. Like the billionaires control everything, but they give a little bit of money to the millionaires, and the millionaires are happy, so they manager all the people underneath them, and the people underneath are suffering and they don't have power, and the people who do have power are the millionaires, but the millionaires are getting millions, so they don't want to step to or challenge the authority that is the billionaires, who are the actual evil people. And that is most white people. Is you all live in a system that has been set up for white supremacy, set up for the benefit of white people, and you don't want to challenge the system because then you may or may not have those benefits that you so enjoy. And I want to say I get it, and but it's just like, but as someone who is deeply empathetic, as soon as I say, I get that I enjoy, having a computer or having internet and all that stuff, I think about the people at the end of the suffering of the United States imperialism, and I don't feel good about it. I can't feel good about it. Do I use it out of necessity? Yes. Do I try to scale back where I can? Yes. Like, I do what I can, but I don't feel good about the benefits that I have for being a United States citizen. I would have rather none of this imperialistic shit happened and I was still in Africa, and me and my descendants are still in Africa, even if we were still picking tubers, is what someone said to me, or like still like doing our own agriculture. I would prefer that than have all this technology, because first of all this technology causes mental health issues anyway. And then you're more connected to nature, you're more connected to your surroundings, you're more connected to family, you're more connected to community. Like, capitalism destroys communities. Like, it's a whole other boat. But it's like the benefits that you get from capitalism, from oppression, from suppression, from hurt, harm, and suffering, you would have them without the hurt, harm, and suffering, and they're not even good, and they're holding back the actual greatness that the world could be, because we are suppressing the people who could bring it up to par, because they know that if everyone had what they needed, then they would no longer be in charge. Like, that is that's what it is. Why don't you?
But
Do you
they're
see
almost like giving up how, like, by saying that like, I understand it's typically hand in hand. People that are more likely to feel guilty are more likely to support this cause. But to say that they have to be hand in hand is almost like giving up how, like, strongly logical your position actually is. It's also my position, really. I don't think that, racism should exist. That's a pretty strong logical position. I don't think you need a strong emotional response to agree with such a thing. Like, I think it's pretty obvious. It's pretty baseline by now. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, so it is logical
How
to
how
not
old are you?
be racist, Jimmy. But wherever there's a hierarchy, right? So this is classism. There are poor people and there are rich people. There's a social construct. There are black people and there are white people. There's a corporate construct where there are individual contributors or interns, and then there's a CEO. Wherever there is a person, where there's a small group of people at the top who have the majority of the power, and there are people at the bottom who have no power and just have to do what they're told, there's always going to be an imbalance of power, an abuse of power, an exploitation of people, no matter what. Like, no matter what. But we have CEOs that make $3,000 the amount of salary of their lowest worker. That is exploitation. That is not because the CEO is that much smarter, does that much more work, has that much more value. That is because he is exploiting the people who are working for him. Okay? And so where there's a hierarchy, there will be oppression, exploitation, and awful things happening to people. So the only way to get rid of a hierarchy are one of two ways. One way is an inverted hierarchy, where there's an upside down triangle where the collective, the majority of the people are on top, and they make the decisions for everyone. And those decisions typically will suppress the evil people at the bottom, because as we said, there's only a little bit of evil, awful people. But the collective has to come together and say, we're not going to stand for it. Or you collapse the whole thing and you make everyone completely equal, and everyone gets the same thing no matter what. And that's kind of a communism, socialism point of view, which I personally, again, once there's a hierarchy, there's going to be exploitation. So where was I going with this? Darn it, I lost my train of thought, Jimmy. But that's where I was going. So if there is a hierarchy, and we know hierarchies are bad, the only way for the hierarchy to be dismantled, for the system to be dismantled, will be if the people who are at the top give up their power. And as long as the people at the top, like yourself, feel like the benefits of being at the top are good, they will never give up their power. And so if they don't give it up, the only other thing that can happen is revolution, and people at the bottom come, and then there's violence. But what, honestly, it's just retaliation violence, because the way that these hierarchies stand are through violence anyways. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, as long as people have your mentality of like not feeling guilty about having these benefits, feeling like these benefits are privilege, these benefits are something to be grateful for, they feel like that is you inherently saying the system is good, the system has benefits, that's the system is not the problem, and we can just figure out something else and not mess with the system, although the system is inherently the thing causing the problem. Does that
Well, no,
that's my
let's say like there is, I stumbled upon some random ATM and it was unloading a bunch of money at me. Like this is other people, or like somebody's gonna have to pay for this, maybe the bank or whatever. I don't know. Should I sit there? I can sit there and like collect some of the money and then, maybe be like I don't know. You want me to feel guilty because of like the
Could
system
you
that
at
like
least give the money?
benefiting from
Could
this,
you at
or
least distribute the money to other people? Could you at least, and what she's talking about isn't even communism, to be honest with you guys. Like, look at the Indus River Valley people, one of the earliest civilizations. There was no hierarchy, there was no priestly class. It had nothing to do with politics. It was just the natural way in which humans organized harmoniously. Back before we even had any of these words, and before there was any charge or nuance or connotation to anything we're saying, there was just existence in a harmonious way. So it's not like it's not possible either. We have lots of examples of it in anthropology. So a lot of people like to, like, oh, you're a communist. It's like, no, you just are uneducated about human history.
I agree. They feel like, a lot of white people feel like human history started when white people started conquering the world, and they just disregard the other 200,000 years before that. But besides that, though, I want to answer the question. If an ATM, you walk past the ATM, it was spitting out a whole bunch of money, should you feel guilty about the money? So you are conflating two things. There is one system that is built, that is the purpose of its building, and the reason it exists, the entire structure's purpose is to subjugate and oppress people in order to extract value and give it to the people at the top. That is the reason the system exists. An ATM malfunctioning and spitting out a bunch of money, there's insurance, which insurance is also a scam. I'm not going to talk about that, but that's insurance. And then that ATM spitting out money does not directly hurt, harm, and cause the subjugation and the exploitation of an entire people. Like, those are not the same thing, Jimmy. They're not the same. Like, pick up your few $1,000s. That's fine. If the camera sees you and they come get you or whatever, that's okay. That's your fault. If you pick it up and you put it in the bank, your ATM outside is spitting out hundreds of dollars. Like, you can do whatever you want, but none of those actions, that ATM spitting out money, no matter where it comes from, it's a bank. It's like, there's plenty of money. They will be okay. But you buying iPhone after iPhone after iPhone every time one jumps out, causing the total demand for iPhones to go up, causing them to further exploit the resources of a vulnerable people in Africa, that is completely different. There's a human
right,
at
but
the end of one.
so you're just saying like I should feel a level of guilt.
Yes. Yes. That is it. That is
Why?
a bunch of guilt.
I
Just like,
still disagree with that. I don't even because then it's like, all right, we could argue about the levels of guilt all
no,
day.
we
Then,
can't.
like,
No, we
all
don't
right,
have
what?
to. No, we don't. If you feel even 1 ounce of guilt, you're on the right side of history. That is it. That is all. Just one drop, like the whole 1 drop rule that white people had. If you got 1 drop of guilt, you're doing well. That's it. It don't gotta be a lot. It doesn't. It's like just that's
But
the
I
one time I
personally
would say
think
a
even the
binary thing.
people,
Yes or no? Do you feel any guilt at all? Yes. All right, you're good. No, then you probably should go to therapy. Like, that's
I
it.
personally think that the people that have the worst ideologies and ones that really oppress and suppress people, I think they still feel guilt regardless of how they operate. I
No,
just don't think
you
that
said you
guilt
feel like
actually
the people
means
who are doing
anything.
the true hurt and harm feel guilt. Is that what you said?
No, they don't.
Yeah, I just don't think that guilt really means anything. And also, all right, like you keep speaking about
Wait.
narcissists and narcissism. Why? I mean, why is this
Wait.
always?
So diagnosed narcissists, which are the people who actually are running the planet, they actually don't feel guilt. They you can put them in a brain scan and you can watch them like unaliving babies and dogs or whatever, and they won't. Nothing in their emotional brain will light up. They do not feel empathy. They do not feel guilt. They do not feel sadness. They do not feel remorse. They don't feel any pain when they see another person in pain.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that.
No, I'm talking about like psychology, true narcissist, sociopath, the Machiavellian triangle. Like if you study psychology,
Yeah.
there are disease, like people who have true mental illnesses that do not allow them to feel emotion. Those are the people who are dangerous, and they're running the world because they do things for their own benefit and their own collection of power at the expense of others, and they don't feel bad about it. There are people who are like regular everyday people who like work in a corporate American setting and like don't like the outcomes at the end of the system that you're in, and you can remove yourself from the system like I did. I quit my corporate American job because I hated that it was sucking my soul, and at the end of it, people were getting sick and hurt at the end of the day. It wasn't me directly, although I was providing strategy to hospitals, health systems, and insurance companies about how to make the most money because that was my job. But I didn't like that being my job, and so I left. So there are people who are like the president. If you don't understand that he is like him, Hitler, like those, like Mussolini, like those people, narcissists. Like you can look it up on the internet. Is Donald Trump a diagnosed narcissist? And you'll see there are 500,000 psychologists who have commented on Donald
Right,
Trump.
but I think you kind of need some of those traits to be a strong leader. Obviously, I mean, you can't just.
No, you need those traits to subjugate other people.
The
There's a lot
drive
of
to even want to be a leader is inherently narcissistic. I mean,
No,
what
it's
do you not
not.
understand?
Well,
Yes, it is. To want to be a leader,
no,
the drive behind that is inherently narcissistic.
you
You can try
can
to
if you
separate it, or
there's a difference between wanting to be a leader and wanting to be a positive influence. I do everything that I do in my
no.
life.
Even if
Everything I do in my life because I want to influence. I live in my truth, and if you like my truth, you follow my truth. I don't do it because I want to lead people. I do what I feel like is right, and if people see that, I hope that gives them the courage to do what is right also. But people, sure, if you want to say people who like actively want to have control over people, that is a little narcissistic, and it's like inherently, but that doesn't make you a narcissistic person. But if you are a narcissist, you will always look for positions of leadership because you need to feel like you can control people. You need to feel like you dominate people because that is where your emotions come from. You don't have regular emotions from connecting with humans. You get your kicks and your rocks from subjugating, hurting, harming, and dominating and exerting control. So I don't like those. Those people are narcissists diagnosed. They do not feel empathy. They create these systems and uphold these systems to hurt and harm because that gives them joy. And if you don't think that, that is, I don't know what to tell you. You got to go do some internet stuff. But there are people who are evil, who are running the world right now, and they are very dangerous. And I need you to understand that. And that is different from being a person who has to participate in this system that they set up, that we have to do stuff in that may hurt people down the line. But at that point, that is where your power lies, and you can do everything you can to not add to the system to the best of your ability. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow and not be able to feed your kids and not be able to pay your rent or whatever, even though I feel like we should all stop working and stop paying rent, whatever. But I'm saying do what you can to help and to mitigate harm. That is all. As a white person, you have more control, more power than the regular person because you are in a position of power that is higher on these hierarchies. Will that mean eventually white people may not be in power and total control of all people across the globe? That is what it means. But that is what it's supposed to be. No one is supposed to have ultimate control over anyone on this planet. And white people need to get that through their mind, that you don't have to control everybody. And if you don't control everybody, that does not automatically equal your domination, subjugation, and extermination and annihilation.
right, but you can't just like have a leader that is like an empathetical mess trying to constantly appease to
Doesn't
everybody's
mean weak.
emotions.
Empathy does. I'm a mom, right? And so I love my child, and I tell him what is right, and I tell him what is wrong, and there are consequences for his actions. People think that if you are empathetic,
There's obviously degrees of like, I'm not saying overall, like you think I'm speaking now, you're the one generalizing everything that I'm saying. I'm not saying that it, there's levels to which, we need somebody to be a little bit cutthroat at times.
yeah, I
We
agree.
need Yeah, exactly. So sometimes we are going to need somebody that, and obviously the traits assigned, like associated with narcissism, you could, they're very subjective. You could easily kind of make
Right.
connections to a lot of people and make the case very easily that because of this interaction, they are a narcissist, or because of, this situation that they were involved
So
in.
one, being cutthroat does not mean you have to hurt, harm, and subjugate people. You can again, when you think about an inverse hierarchy, the collective, if there's someone leading from the collective and taking votes from everybody, and if everyone votes like this person is a pedo and they need to go, then hey, that is being an empathetic person toward the vulnerable, toward the people who are hurt and harmed, and being cutthroat toward the people who deserve it. You can be an empathetic person and still be willing to do what you got to do. So you can be strong and be a strong leader and still be empathetic and still have a deep emotion for the human beings that you have to lead or shepherd or care over. Like you're like, but that deep empathy and that cutthroatness comes from a collective mindset, not from a narcissistic mindset, which is the individual mindset, which is the I want power, so I'm going to be cutthroat over everyone on the planet, versus I want to make sure everyone on the planet is good, so I'm going to be cutthroat to the people who threaten that existence. You see what I'm saying? Like you can be, that's not a narcissistic trait inherently, like having boundaries and having things that you stand for and being able to like put people down who need to be put down. You can do that and still be an empathetic person. Still be that makes you a strong person because you love human beings so much. You don't want any hurt or harm to come to any of them, but you have to hurt or harm this one because they threaten the collective of everyone else. Like that, it takes so much bravery and so much leadership to do that despite how you feel, but you do it anyway for the greater good. But in a non-narcissistic way, I'm doing it for my own personal self-interest, benefit, and gain. That is where narcissism comes in, and that's not what people do. Everywhere else, there were tribes with chiefs and their advisory councils, and they would all make decisions based on the collective good. The only place in the world, the United States, well, not in the world now, but the place that started the I'm going to make decisions based on my own personal individual self-interest, despite the hurt and harm that it will do to the collective people, my people that I'm responsible for taking care of. That is a white European descendant mentality that has been exported towards the world. Arabs too. I'll give the Arabs were bad. The Arabs were bad. But Native American, South America, Africa, China, Japan, the natives of Japan, the natives of Australia, yes, the actual Japanese people, nah. Japan, I'm not gonna go into Japan, but Japan, they're basically the Asian white people, if I'm being honest. So there are a minority of groups who said, I need to hurt, harm, dominate, but the majority of indigenous people across the world before colonization had collective group mindsets that suppressed the people who were awful and evil, that were the minority, but had a lot of emotion and empathy. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, I think that, yeah, most of our leaders are pretty narcissistic. I just don't think that it's really as a result of being white. I think most people in the spotlight are pretty narcissistic. Um,
Okay. Okay. Yes, and people who are in the spotlight are narcissistic. People around the world are narcissistic, but those people typically are white because whiteness breeds narcissism. So it's just like there's going to be a higher rate of narcissism because I don't know if you know the roots of narcissism, but narcissism comes from not being held accountable. Like growing up as a child, you were not held accountable, and who in society are not held accountable with a little trauma mixed in. And so who are not held accountable most? Men, all the mama's boys and like the men they don't have to do their chores, they don't have to clean up, they don't have to do laundry, they don't have to listen to women and consent. They are given opportunity, they are just seen as good and strong and all this stuff. So men are never really held accountable, especially at a young age. And then white people are not held accountable. Y'all have never been held accountable for all of your lives, for all of the last 400 years. White people have been running the show. So all the hurts, harms, and oppressions that they have put out, they have not been held accountable. Like even whenever slavery ended, they didn't give reparations to black people, but they gave reparations to white people who lost their farms. Like anyways, white people and
right,
men.
but when you
So
say held
one
accountable,
second, I'm almost done. So if you are a white man, there's going to be a higher rate of narcissism because of the traits that go into making a narcissist. So there are more white narcissists than anyone else because y'all have never had to feel empathy. Like the fact that there was transatlantic slave trade across the United States where y'all were raping, killing, unaliving, hanging, mutilating, cutting babies out, cutting penises, like doing all this crazy stuff, and no one ever held y'all accountable for that. That is narcissism. Like no other human being other than a narcissist or a sociopath can commit that much harm to another person, not feel bad about it, be okay with the benefits that came from it, and then live your life like it was like it's golden, and then blame the people who are complaining about it as like problematic. Like that's a narcissistic
right,
thing.
but you're
Like, people
almost
a little more narcissistic.
You're almost saying that like we need to like take accountability. Like we're taking I believe I get what you're saying. I'm following what you're saying. A narcissist is bred from a lack of accountability in a person, but I think that would be a lack of accountability from personal action, right? Things that have resulted in consequence or no, things that didn't result in consequence but should have,
Right.
as a result of personal action, right? You can't conflate personal action with, historical events, though, like historic things that
Wait,
are historically yes,
can I
albeit historically significant, but that doesn't mean that, that's something that because white people haven't taken accountability or you feel they haven't taken enough accountability for racism, or for slavery, that's what makes them narcissistic. I just don't
so
understand that point.
so
I could understand, like, maybe if you were raised as a kid and you unalived animals and you never were forced to take accountability, yeah, that will probably make you a narcissist or something odd.
Hold on, let's see what
wait,
Minerva has to say. Go ahead.
so I'm seeing one of your blind spots and one that I used to have before I actually had the motivation to study any of this or do any self-reflection, and it's really common. It doesn't mean it's okay, but it's common. Is that okay, this is a complex issue, okay? Yeah, no one's trying to conflate the individual with the group. What we're trying to do, I believe, the shared goal is that you have to see these different subgroups and the umbrella of effects that cover a multitude of subgroups, okay? So it does affect you on a personal level, and you do have blind spots around it for that reason because of how you were growing up, what you were shown on media, how your parents treated you, all of the above. But also because going back to blind spots again, I'm sorry I'm going to keep harping on this, but it's the truth is that in your life, you don't think you should have to feel accountable for what your ancestors did. But let me ask you a really relatable question that might drive the point home. Is there anything that you do that you're like, your parents have told you, oh, your grandpa used to do that? Or, oh, I have this habit. I talk like my mom or I talk like my dad. Or there are things that are passed down generationally on a DNA level that comprise a lot of our blind spots. So even though you yourself did not commit those actions, and this isn't even like a metaphysical thing, this is just something that's very hard to scientifically quantify because it's so complex. But we absolutely inherit things, tendencies, perceptions, ways of being in the world, ways that our brains operate on a DNA level. And if you don't have any emotion around that, then you're never going to be motivated to change those things or examine them. And then couple that with, you know, the benefiting from these hierarchies where you don't feel any kind of systemic oppressive pressure. Sorry, it's my baby just came home. Then you're never going to be influenced to stop and look in the mirror on a deeper level. Not just what did I do in this generation, but what got passed down to me. Sorry.
No, you're fine. And so I agree with all of that, but I also want to go back to your original point,
Wait,
Jimmy.
I'm sorry, but to me, it sounds like she's almost saying we need to, like, admit these traits that are inherited among white people, like these like that are these tendencies in our psychopathy that like pop up that I guess you're saying are controlling and narcissistic, and that we need to recognize them and like get rid of them. To me, it just sounds like a little bit like the same
Yeah.
thing when people utilize
Wait.
when people utilize IQ statistics against the black community, which I think is like some fuck shit. I don't agree with, like, it sounds like the same thing. Like, you're saying like we need to admit
No,
these.
it's not
Right.
because you personally are being asked to hold yourself accountable. That's the only difference. And you don't want to look at that.
But
Well, okay,
in
no.
saying that these tendencies are inherited, you have to you have to like
She's not
really
saying
draw the
inherited, like,
connection
she
between
is saying
race.
genetically, but she's also saying, like, just through, like, just ideology
Exactly.
that your parents have, they're going to teach you. So that's why there are a lot of white people who have subconscious biases against black people just based on how they were raised. Like, they were raised seeing that black people do crime, black people are this, all the propaganda, because that's what it is. And so they have these internal beliefs about black people that they don't know that they have. And they're just like, oh, I don't like rap music, or oh, I don't like black culture, or like, oh, I don't, like, you cover up the root of it with all of these, like, socially acceptable ways of saying it, but at the end of the day, it's racism that you have because of what America has taught you. But I want to get back to what you said about, I was saying that white people are going to be more narcissistic on average because of the fact, especially white men, because you guys have not been held accountable. And you were saying that's for individual actions, and I was saying yes. But if you study like cult behavior, which all these hierarchies are a cult, they're a cult. You are more susceptible to be going into one cult if you are coming from another cult. Like, in the same thing, it's the same mentality that's for like abuse survivors, because it's another. Anyways, they're all psychologically in the same place in your brain. You are more likely to go to another abuser by accident, just even though you don't know. But the patterns that the abuser shows are the same, and you're familiar with it, so you're more drawn to it. So people who are in abusive relationships tend to get in another ones. People who are in cults, they leave the one cult, they tend to go to another cult. The same thing with if you are raised as a male or a white male and you are never held accountable, you have the narcissistic tendency is there. And so whenever the opportunity for narcissism appears, such as I am a white person in this white collective community and these white people have done these things that I didn't do directly, but I'm a part of this group and I benefit directly from the things that my ancestors did, I don't have to take accountability for it. Because I didn't do the thing, although I benefit from it. The same
But how are
method
you proving that white people
working.
like more white people have a concentrated amount of like narcissism as opposed to other races? Like, how are you proving that more white people like have this concentrated amount of narcissism as opposed to white other races?
I'm talking about collective narcissism, but even the individual narcissism. No, I do feel like that. And that one, I will say, Jimmy, hey, I'm an honest gal. I do not have scientific evidence behind that, because I looked it up and they said technically the highest rates of narcissism are in the black community, which is, which is crazy because you will know that black people they do have higher mental illness, episodes, but that is for a myriad of systemic oppression experiences. But narcissists also are less likely to go get therapy or get help because they are narcissistic, so they don't feel like there's anything wrong with them, so they're less likely to report being narcissistic. And because white people who are narcissistic are white, a lot of times the narcissistic tendencies that show up as a white with a white face, they will be elevated into higher ranks of society because they're like, oh, they're cutthroat, or oh, they're ambitious, or oh, they just got to do, they're doing what they got to do. Versus if a black person does the same thing, they will quickly be labeled as narcissistic because how dare you, white person, have all this confidence, like the way you look, hurt other people, oppress other people, like, oh, how dare you do all those things? If narcissism has a black face, you will be diagnosed and probably locked up. If your narcissism has a white face, you will become Donald Trump, you will become Elon Musk, you will become Larry Ellison, you will become all of these people, all these narcissistic billionaires who are billionaires because they had no problem hurting and harming and getting over on people because of the lack of empathy, because of the narcissism that they had. But they were white, so it elevated them. Versus if you're black, you would get diagnosed and put in prison. So it says that black people have higher rates of narcissistic personality disorder as a diagnosis, but that is, I feel like I'm calling BS on that, because I just know that the rate of reporting of narcissism in the white community is none.
I mean, but even to say what narcissism is, I mean, we can't like say like science is God here, you know. It's not like some truly objective thing. It's kind of, I mean, it makes, yeah, there are clear like trends that
Science.
people's brains are kind
Yep.
of like you know, decision making skills and certain, like, I understand
There
that,
is
but
science.
it's not just that simple. It's not like, oh, do you have a narcissistic brain? You know, maybe we can see like certain areas of the brain are maybe not as active and draw a decent connection, but it's not that objective. It's pretty.
I disagree. I disagree. I think that there are scientific tests, like brain scans that you can look at, and then there are qualitative tests where you can ask someone like yourself, Jimmy. I've asked you a series of questions of like, do you feel bad about someone getting hurt and benefiting you? And your answer was roughly no. It kind of changed over time, which I appreciate. But roughly, Sorry, I got a text message. Dang, I gotta go. But roughly, you said that you don't feel bad
No,
about the
it's
benefits that you get. That's narcissistic,
no, yeah, I don't feel bad. I wouldn't feel bad about the benefits. I would feel bad about the situation that
right?
led to
That's
me getting the
crazy.
benefits.
That's crazy. I want you to go talk to people, not white people, if you can, about how you feel about the benefits of like you getting benefits from being a white person and being a descendant of, a slave owner or something like that. And you saying you enjoy the benefits, even though you do feel bad about what happens to people, but you are grateful and happy that you have these benefits. And you, hey, come back and let us know what you find, if you find other people who feel the same way. And try not to ask white people. That's the thing. If you ask all the people who are benefiting, of course they're going to say, "Oh, I'm glad I'm benefiting." But if you ask some people of color who are benefiting from, I don't know, capitalism, and say, "Hey, understanding that capitalism causes all this hurt and harm, are you grateful for the benefits that capitalism gives you personally, even though it's causing hurt and harm?" And, just see what they say. You do your own study, and you know,
All right. Honestly, that is a decently interesting question to ask people, so
it is.
I'll ask them that. If I see you up here again, I'm gonna follow you, so who knows? Maybe I'll
Okay,
see you at
yeah,
work.
come on, send me a DM too, so I know who you are. I don't forget because I talk to people all the time.
All right.
Yeah, this was a good conversation, Jimmy. I don't think you're awful. I think you're a little misguided, but I think you got room for growth for sure. You got this. I
Yeah,
believe in you.
I'm a narcissist with some room for growth,
Yeah,
so
a little bit. Yeah, that's what I saw
all
today.
right.
So, all right, thanks
All
for
right.
coming in.
Have a good
Thanks
one.
everyone for listening. You too. I'll talk to you guys next time.